You guys are here now. You get to experience it in person, but if you can't stay for every hour of all 2 days, I understand there are games to play over on the show floor, but you can watch everything on Facebook. And right now, I want to introduce someone from Facebook, Rick, who's going to tell us all about what we're doing with Facebook. Rick Kelly, the Global Head of Gaming for Facebook. Come on up.
Thanks,
all right,
man.
good to see you.
How's it going?
All right, so
Hi,
this is so cool that we're streaming around the world on Facebook, and even better, fans are going to be able to ask questions on Facebook. So you'll see during a lot of the panels that hosts will be taking questions from fans on Facebook. But tell us a bit about gaming on Facebook, because I'm sure most people here have a Facebook account.
Yeah, well, I mean, gaming is a massive community on Facebook. There's over 800 million people that play Facebook-connected games every month. And what we feel, we really appreciate an opportunity like this, because what we'll be doing over the next couple of days is really hearing not only from people at E3, but people around the world that will be able to participate with all the panelists that are on stage, being able to ask questions and really engage with all the content that they're going to see without having to be here in LA.
All right, well, everyone around the world, that's what Facebook does, connect folks. I know during the, in between the panels, you guys are pulling a lot of statistics, which are kind of interesting on like which games are trending, what people are talking about online, right?
Yeah, this really launched last year when we were able to take a look at all of the conversations taking place on Facebook, as well as how many people were watching different video trailers that were announced at E3, and to be able to compile and bring those insights to the community and really declare a winner of E3 by the end of the week. So this week we're going to do something similar, where we're going to be bringing, hey, what's the the #1 most talked about RPG? What who won this particular day when it comes to the community talking about these games throughout the week. So you'll see it on the screens over the next couple of days, and in between some of the different panels.
Yeah, I saw you had like a heat map about where in the world people are talking about E3. Big in Australia, it looked like. US, Australia, all these countries around the world. That's what's great, is that E3 is global. And I'm sure anyone from outside the US here, E3?
Me.
Look at that. That's cool. People coming from around the world to check out E3.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much to Facebook for helping us bring the E3 Coliseum to life. You guys have been big supporters of the idea of bringing E3 to the fans. And over, I know, on the outside the show floor, there's also a Facebook Live stage, right?
Correct. Yep. So we'll be bringing, actually, you'll see some of that over here over the next couple of days.
Yep.
People being able to ask questions from the E3 center stage. So. 45 seconds.
Let's do it. Hello, gamers. Welcome to the E3 Coliseum. I am Jeff Keighley, the inaugural E3 Coliseum. We are here at E3, where it all starts for gaming, and this is a special moment for all of us, because this is the first year that consumers, the real fans, are here at E3. You guys excited? Well, this is going to be a really special couple of days. We've got 2 days of panels. All the biggest game creators will be here live on stage, and we'll be streaming it around the world. We're excited, and we're going to get right started now with our first panel. Really excited about this one. The team from Sony Santa Monica Studio. They showed a little bit of it last night. We're going to hear more about it. Let's get to God of War Behind the Curtain. Enjoy. Joke is still up. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host for God of War Behind the Curtain, Michelle Morrow. Michelle?
Hey guys, what's going on? All right, well, first of all, I think we should thank Joe Castillo for that incredible performance. So please help me in giving him a warm round of applause. All right, well, I want to first start by welcoming all of you guys to the God of War Behind the Curtain panel. Most of you guys know why you're here, obviously, but I'm a huge fan of this series, so I was really just overwhelmed by the fact that they asked me to moderate this. So without further ado, there's a lot of questions because we saw a really cool World Serpent come up last night in the trailer. So let's bring out the team from Santa Monica Studio and get a little bit more. Guys, want to come on out? Let's give them a round of applause.
Far left or far right?
Know who these guys are, but I'm going to let them go down and introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Shannon Studstill. I was one of the original founders of Santa Monica Studio back in 2000, and I spent many years with the studio, and now I'm heading up the crew and head of studio.
Hey everyone.
That's you.
Shannon. I'm Jeet Shroff. I'm the gameplay engineering lead on the project. I primarily work with the gameplay, animation, design, and tech teams in realizing sort of the vision of that crazy man over there, as well as sort of bringing the gameplay and narrative experiences to life in the game.
Hi everyone, I'm Ariel Angelotti. I'm on the art side of things. I'm a producer for the concept art team, the character art team, and the character tech art teams, as well as dabbling in some other aspects of the art for the game as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Corey Barlog. I'm the director of the game, and I make their lives completely miserable on a daily basis. That's really it. That's the best description of it.
All right, well, let's get to it because we have a lot of questions going on. This is a big reimagining of God of War, so I think my first question really would be for Shannon, being the studio head. You guys were, I guess the fairest way to say it is at a crossroads a couple years ago for the studio. So when you were looking forward, did you envision God of War to be a part of that future?
You know, a lot of people felt like God of War needed to rest and breathe after the release of Ascension, and I was pretty strongly, my gut knew that there was so much more that we could tell in terms of story and character arc with Kratos. We've seen one dimension of him. As we were kind of at that crossroads, it was really apparent to me that we needed to really look for a new beginning and someone that could tell that new beginning in a way that, you causing
Sorry,
problems?
I was arranging the furniture.
Jesus.
Go on, you were saying.
So, in my mind, there were two people that could retell this story and really pivot the franchise where, the fan base would, it would be a compelling experience. One of those people is Dave Jaffe, the father of the franchise. He was pretty busy at the time, so the second person that immediately came to mind, and I was still in contact with Corey. For me, as a producer at heart, even though I'm studio head, I still love the production process. You keep in touch with creatives, and you never let them go. And when they're a true visionary,
we call that stalking.
Yes, that was before you got married. So good conversation. Not at all. I was like buried with two kids. So we had a good lunch, and I saw the new Corey because we hadn't seen each other for a while, and he had been around the world working with different creatives, and he really resonated with me. I walked away from that lunch feeling sort of, and that you feel it. You just walk away going, this is going to work, this is going to happen.
Especially with somebody who's been a part of the franchise since the very beginning, right? So like for you, Corey, did you know what you wanted to do when you're coming back? I know you've talked a lot about fatherhood and the inspiration of that, but when you were first, consulted, did that immediately come to mind, this new direction?
I think the first thing that came to mind is I knew that if I wanted to jump into something that was probably going to be like 5 years of my life, it had to mean something. I think what I learned when I was working with so many people in the time between was, finding your own personal way into everything that you do. That every story that you tell, everything that you make, you have to have some kind of personal connection to it, some kind of truth that comes from your own life, right? So I don't think it was the first thought, but it definitely was, as I started circling around ideas, the one that kept resonating more and more, that actually felt like it's something that had a little weight to it.
Yeah.
Little life.
Yeah, and then why Norse? Why did you go into that direction?
Well, we looked at a lot of mythologies, actually. Norse was the one that sort of rose to the top, but there was a top 3, I think, and our team was about 11 or 12 when we were choosing the mythologies, and a lot of very fierce debate. There was camps on either side of this, and I ended up just making the final decision, kind of looking out to where I wanted to see the franchise go many games into the future and kind of how we were going to grow it. And I realized, I think the best place to start is Norse, that it had such an incredibly rich mythology, and it was so vastly different, I think, than what we had done before.
And I think I've heard you talk before about how it's just kind of in the areas, right? Like each kind of area within had their own religions and whatnot. So Greek was part of it, so he just took a boat over to Norway or something.
I mean, mythologies are sort of creation stories of each culture, right? And cultures are essentially separated by geography, right? So their creation stories, they date back. So there are mythologies happening around the world at all times throughout history, all the way back. So we are sort of positing this concept that at all times there are various gods walking the earth in each of these different mythologies.
So we get to the Norse mythology. We get to an older Kratos with a son. Shannon, did this worry you at all? Because Kratos is kind of known as like our beloved, committed to anger, maniacal anger bot. So how did you react to that?
I love that description. Anger box.
A child abuse fear or something along those lines. Yeah. I think production is, there's risks everywhere. And, my time with the team has always been asking questions, poking at issues that I think could be controversial or maybe not taken well, but trust. I've got to trust in the team and know that if they, or Corey as an individual visionary, if he feels really strongly about something, he's going to be able to push that. If it doesn't really work for the franchise, he's going to listen to his team. And even though there's tons of passion, there's a lot of very strong individuals on the team, he has to be able to be steadfast in that. Yeah. And if it doesn't necessarily kind of work itself at the team level, I know that it's going to find its way in playtests. Playtests are so deep into the fabric of the way that we build games. We listen to the players, right? So that's the last stop that I think everyone relies on, and certainly Corey.
Yeah, they end a lot of arguments.
Yeah, it's true.
How about for Jeet and Ariel, being a part of the team, how did you guys approach this, and how did you feel about the new direction?
I think for me and for the team, sort of going in this new reimagining of Kratos and the world, to some degree, it's very bold, very challenging, and honestly, a little bit terrifying, in the sense that, when you're going from a sequel, you've got your foundation sorted, you've got your mechanics sorted, and you're building on something solid, right? You're going from something tried and tested and moving on to the next step. When you're going for new IP, you've got sort of a clean slate to some degree, right? Imagine whatever you want. When you're going for what we're doing right now, which is sort of this reimagination, you have something that's familiar, and you have something that fans really care about and players really care about. And we want to sort of maintain that, but we still want to flip everything, break it apart, and then start putting it back together slowly, right? So for us, that in itself was, to some degree terrifying, but also really rewarding, in the way that we've changed everything from the combat to the mechanics to including the sun to the environment to everything is different, new, and fresh.
And scary.
And scary. But I think, it is a little bit, the way I look at it is for us to be able to carve out sort of our own little space in the action-adventure, close combat, melee genre, and define something that includes exploration, includes progression, includes sort of the sun and companionship, and really give players something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Ariel, how about you?
I mean, even on the art side, this presents a new challenge. We're in an entirely different land than we were in the previous games. There is a new mythology. Specifically for this game, we wanted to go for a pre-Viking era with the art direction, but what does that look like? We'd established, tapping into the Greek mythology that, well, how is it that we make something look Greek? Well, you put a column in it, put like a nice... Like,
that is really what we did.
It
doesn't look Greek enough. Put a column in it.
Is that like red color?
Fucking worked every time.
Yeah, but what does that look like for our game when there were actually so few surviving artifacts from the era that this game is taking place? So on one level, that's extremely restrictive. Like how do we make the game look Norse? But on another hand, it gives us a certain degree of creative freedom to establish what that language is. And I mean, one of the things we sort of, in the concept art team, we sort of developed a little tagline that like, well, how do we make something look Norse? Put a rune on it.
Put a rune on it.
Put a rune on
it, that's
right.
Put
a rune on it. Yeah, well, the interesting thing about using runes is that it not only gives it a Norse feel, but there are opportunities for world building and character building in it. That you might see some characters with tattoos, building into like figuring out what those tattoos are going to be saying is sort of giving some background behind a character or a piece of architecture.
It's incredible how much research goes into making a game just in general, and I heard that you guys actually took a Nordic trip, is that right?
Yes.
How many of you guys from the team went?
It was me.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to go.
From the panel here. It was awesome. I spent about a month there. No. We had about 6 of us. Environment artists, rendering engineers. We really wanted to do a cross-discipline look at, and it's just a beautiful landscape there and so diverse. It was amazing how much we were able to pull from in terms of the landscape visuals. Every almost half a mile, you're seeing something completely different. So we had a lot of reference material that we were able to bring back. And we were looking at the architecture of some of the older construction there and the boats and so forth, because a lot of that history is still something that they celebrate. So it was a fun trip.
And to be able to get it right, to be able to come back and say, this is what it would look like, and you guys reimagine it in your world.
I am no art director, but I still walk the floor and say, hey, this looks like an area that we saw in Iceland, and I'll pull out the pictures, and John Palamarchek looks at them and say, okay, I'm going to start to introduce some of this stuff into the levels that he's working on. Yeah.
Well, that really works into a lot of the critical decisions that you guys have to make as a studio in general. And one of those critical decisions I think that I want to ask about is, Corey, did you ever in this process consider having a different protagonist other than Kratos? Because I know it was something that was talked about a lot online. But Kratos is who we all love. Did you ever consider it?
I tried to consider everything, but I think I kind of always came back to the concept that, to me, Kratos is fairly intrinsically God of War. But even more so, there's still a story there. I think when I was, again, perhaps uncreatively connecting things back to my own life, I realized that when I made the first and second game, I was a very different person than I am today. I'm a bigger asshole today than I was then. Growth, people. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. So I kind of was looking at the first 8 games of God of War, because I never want to forget the mobile game in that 8, and realize that, you know, the Greek era is kind of this fantastically long introduction to a character, this sort of origin story for somebody that has a place to go. I mean, to me, the most interesting stories, like in Iron Man 1, right? To me, fantastic movie, because you get to see sort of Tony Stark, billionaire playboy, selling weapons, and really not connecting or caring about any of that stuff, and going through the process that he goes, the growth, the arc that he goes through to become what he becomes at the end of that. Spoilers, if anybody doesn't know that he's Iron Man. But watch the movie, come on. So I think, to me, that's very interesting, and then to be able to take a character like Kratos back from where he was, right? He's in a fucking dark place, man, really dark. But I think that's what's so interesting. I think all of us go through a lot of ups and downs in our lives, right? That nobody's life is just that. It's boring, right? Nobody goes through that. It's all over the place, and I think to be able to take somebody from the extreme to another extreme, I think is, to me, why I consume content. You know, that's drama. That's exciting. So I think that challenge almost immediately, when I kind of realized that, like, this is the challenge I want to take on, right?
Yeah. And stay with Kratos, and, you know, and add in a sidekick, which it looks like we can control at some points. I'm not exactly sure.
It's interesting. It's not like a direct control in the sense that you're going to be ordering him around to do things. He kind of is this fantastically sort of autonomous partner who we have dedicated a specific button to, so that you are like a father, sort of teaching him, commanding him to do things, but he, like an individual, will do some of the things on his own as well. So that's kind of the interesting dynamics of sort of parenting, as well as kind of dealing with another character in the game. But I know a lot of people are concerned, thinking that he will be a burden. I even heard it on some of the reaction videos last night, because I love those things. And when the son jumps off of one of the enemies and fires the bow, one of the guys said, "Oh, good, so he's not going to be a burden." And I was like, success. That was what the trailer was supposed to do. He is absolutely not going to be a burden. He is 100% an accompaniment to Kratos. And, you know, when you have a character who doesn't talk that much, you have a character who lives a lot of an internal life, you need somebody who is going to speak a little bit more to allow the conversation to continue flowing, right?
Yeah.
So that it doesn't just become fairly one-sided rage. So I think it's fantastic.
Jeet, what was it like for you to be able to deal with the son?
I mean, the son, to Corey's point as well, is so paramount to the story, and sort of this bond between father and son as being a core pillar of the game. When we took on that challenge, I think we didn't want it to just be limited to the narrative, right? We wanted to bleed that sort of dynamics and that combination, or that bond, all the way into every aspect of gameplay as well. So, you know, be it puzzles, be it combat, obviously. And I mean, our game we're so mechanics heavy that, like, every day there's a fight about, like, hey, where should I put this? You know, which button can I map this to? We're constantly fighting about buttons. And the fact that we've dedicated a button to the sun is a sort of testament and commitment to, you know, what we want the sun to be in this game.
It's the share button.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think taking that challenge on was tricky. I mean, I think even a while, right in early development, we had a lot of our sister studios sort of, you know, come down, give us some feedback, sort of to some degree caution us about the challenge that we were about to take on. And I mean, you know, there's so many instances of the son, you know, getting stuck behind something, or not following him, or, you know, following the player correctly, and you know, over time, it's just getting better and better and better. And we've seen him sort of grow along with our development, along with all of us in these last couple of years as we've been working on it. And, you know, just recently we had, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, we had a situation in the game where he was separated by a gate between, you know, the player on one side and the sun on the other side. And everybody was like, yeah, okay, you know, he's just going to get stuck now. And someone had added a feature where he found a little hole through the gate, crawled through that space, came out on the other side, turned and faced the player and was like, what, Dad? Look, I made it through, you know? And just watching that for us, while it's pretty insignificant from a player perspective as you watch it, I mean, that was like, oh my God, you know, like our little boy, he's growing up. Like, he's making it, you know? And so, all in all, what that does, at least, I think, is really like double down on this idea of the journey and the adventure, you know, of father and son through everything, through combat, narrative, mechanics. And it's been, I mean, the team has done an amazing job in bringing him to life, and you know, it's gonna be great.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about him, like who his mom is and all that kind of stuff. But I think one of the most, he's like, I'm not telling you. It's fine if I didn't ask, I'd be in trouble. But
when you play the game, you will find out.
Yeah. But I think since we're on the subject of him, we were talking about it backstage a little bit. Do you guys want to talk about his hair?
Oh, yeah. That was fantastic. All right. So, for a long time, we didn't have our hair technology, right? So the son was bald, and he looked just like Kratos. And at first we were like, whatever, let's just put it in.
He didn't look like Kratos. He looked like he was sick.
He looked like he was sick. And you say you're not an art director, but you're art directing right now. Yeah, so there was an ongoing battle between her and I. Every time I'd see her in the hallway, she'd be like, put some hair on that kid. Come on. He's looking really sick. And so, being the person I am, I actually didn't want hair on him, but then I started switching to the opposite side of the argument. I'm like, he is staying bald the whole time now.
This is what we have to deal with every day, by the way.
Yeah. I tend to troll people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for a long time, it basically is stuck at that. And Raph Grassetti is our character artist, lead character artist, and he's the guy handling all the hair. He did the glorious beard on Kratos and did the sculpt of Kratos. It's just phenomenal. And he had told me, oh, I'm going to put the hair on the kid. So I told him to go to
Corey
Shannon.
doesn't know I was in the background of the raft discussion. I found my way.
She's the one that set it up. See, I was trying to give her a win as well by saying, you know, Raph, tell her that you didn't tell me. Tell her that you did it, and I'm just going to be really upset about it. But yeah, it's really nice. It ended up turning out very, very good.
Well, I'm glad that Hairgate has been settled.
Hairgate, all done.
Took months.
But G, you brought up something kind of interesting where you said sister studios came by and sort of, you know, gave you advice or warned against or whatnot. And so for Shannon, you know, having the cameras and no cut like the entire time, did anybody warn you against that, or was that something you were looking?
I think I was personally more concerned about Sun at the time. There's just so much work, and Jeet and team have done a phenomenal job, you know, watching him grow.
Our little boy's all grown up.
Camera was a topic of discussion for quite some time, and this was another one where Corey, in my opinion, I'm not sure if this is necessarily true, but he really stood alone on this one. I don't think very many people wanted to go down this path, didn't really understand the value of it, and he pushed, and I think we're much better for it.
For a long time, it seemed like just a crazy idea that I was pushing. It really does have a strong purpose. I think it's interesting to actually be able to play as Kratos without ever looking away. The idea of camera cuts, I think they're fantastic. They're sort of a vocabulary for film that are almost invisible to us when we watch something great. Some great TV, great film, it's just, we don't see it. But I think for video games, we have this opportunity to never look away, to actually exist as the individual character throughout the entire experience. Somebody want to get that?
I like how it's like a regular phone ring, too.
Right.
It's just like ring, ring.
I think it might be my mom. Tell her I'll call her back.
No, but it's a massive undertaking to do that, to just go full on camera the entire time.
Yeah, I think before last E3, the technical director had sat me down and said, you probably shouldn't tell everybody that we're going to do no camera cuts just in case. And I was like, just in case what? We've committed to this. We're doing this.
Right after that, you just
and I was like, that's like the worst thing you could tell me, because now I'm telling everybody. I'm going to get a T-shirt that says no camera cuts. He failed social engineering that day.
Well, I mean, we don't have tons of time left. We have about 16 minutes, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about the casting process. Because we have a new Kratos, we also have a young boy. So I wanted to ask you about what that was like to cast those characters, because he's really young, like 9 or so when you guys started?
When we cast him, he was 9 years old. I was advised or strongly cautioned that, it's the film adage of never work with animals or kids, which should be a game development adage considering how difficult it is to get the son to do anything in the game. But everybody said, oh no, it's going to be hard, and I was kind of pushing for the concept of it's the only way you're going to get the real performance, is to have both actors on the set during the shoots and actually have it be a kid, right? And I mean, it's even proven in when we watch some of the footage, we have a stunt person and the kids, so when we do any sort of crazy complex stuff like throw them off a building or something like that, we have to get a stunt person in because apparently that's a no-no for kids. I don't know. We're going to change the laws. So you can absolutely tell even the way the stunt person stands, even the way the stunt person walks. Oh wow, that's not the kid. That's not really the kid. It makes a massive difference on sort of the legitimacy of the performance. And it took a long time to find Kratos because you have to find a very large person, right? Very large. And we were very, very lucky to get Christopher Judge, an incredible performer.
He's such a good actor.
He is unbelievable. He brought an incredible amount of intensity to this. And the son was actually the first part that we cast. So we went through a lot of different meetings, and this kid's audition was just phenomenal. He's like 39 going on 30, just super mature, very on point. We were very lucky to get him.
What's his name?
Sonny Sulik.
Sonny Sulik.
Yeah, he was actually just at Cannes, hanging out with Nicole Kidman and Colin Farrell, so he's not going to return my calls anymore. he's famous now.
And you said when you started this he was 9, but now he's about 14 or so, or how old, 13?
13, I think, 12. I don't really know.
Yeah.
He's still 9 in my mind.
I think we actually have a clip of it.
We totally do.
Aaron, do we have a clip that we could show everybody? Maybe? I always wanted to try this out if it would work. Oh, here it goes.
Why'd you say nothing?
So this is that scene from the trailer.
Oh yeah, this is from the actual trailer.
You think I'm weak because I'm not like you. I know I was never what you wanted. But after all this, I thought maybe things were different.
You do not know everything, boy.
No. But at least I know the truth now.
The truth. The truth.
Why did you wait so long to tell me?
I had hoped to spare you. You are welcome to surprise me.
Cut.
Clear.
Small he is. He can fit in your pocket.
That looks amazing. Wow. Wow. Do you want to talk at all about that process? Were you there the entire time during the mocap shooting?
Yeah. So that's an amazing process. There's so much preparation that goes into it, from the cinematics team, shooting animatics, kind of getting everything dialed in. I mean, I was very, very fortunate to have a really incredible crew, so that every time when we went in for shoot days, it was running like clockwork, like absolutely no issues. And we're doing, single shots that sometimes are 4 minutes long. So I was an idiot who had no idea what I was getting into when I said, no camera cuts. And then the reality of actually going on set and shooting 4 minutes with, say, 5 actors, and you have to get 5 actors' performances perfect in one take. So a lot of pre-work went into making sure that every single thing was dialed in. Dori Arazzi is the camera guy, the cinematographer, and he is just amazing. We have this little VCam thing, right? It's basically like a little tablet that is getting video of the cameras that are in 3D. And he carries that thing around, and it's like shooting with a Steadicam. But every once in a while, all the controls will reverse. So all of a sudden, up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. but you'd never know. This guy's so freaking good that on the fly, he just completely just reverses everything that he's doing so that he doesn't ruin any of the takes. So we're like in 3 minutes of a 4-minute scene, and he does that and goes, oh yeah, my camera got messed up. But you absolutely rewatch it, you're like, I never had any idea. So it helps to work with absolutely great people. I am surrounded by people that are so much better than me. And that, I think, is the only, well, it's actually pretty easy to surround yourself with people that are better than you. But, I mean, these guys, it's absolutely astounding. I think, I'm so thankful every single day that they're the ones that have to do the hard work.
And that scene was just amazing. How much rehearsal did you have for these scenes?
We would do rehearsal days, like 2 rehearsal days before the shoots, but then we'd also have Sunny come in because in the game, we use a lot of the original Norse language. So anything you actually can read written on all the walls is something. It means something. We've written it, and it's placed there for a very specific reason. But also throughout the game, they will speak in the various languages. The sun, which is kind of a reflection of my own life again, is kind of the translator for him, right? So Kratos is this stranger in a strange land. My wife is Swedish, and I don't speak any Swedish. It's shameful, right? I mean, her parents are in town right now, and I am just the worst. I can say, like, hot dog and drink. I'm like a trained monkey in Sweden. But yeah, the son is a lot like that, because my son, 5 years old, and is speaking Swedish, right?
Wow.
And basically he speaks English and Swedish, and it's just pointing at me and laughing that I'm so dumb. But it's that same dynamic of, like, Kratos can't understand anything these people are saying, but the son is always able to kind of give that conduit. The son, kind of like the player, is the conduit in. So it's really cool.
Well, you guys, I mean, there's a lot of new people on this project, too. You've got Sunny, you've got new Kratos, you've also got Christopher, and you also have a new composer as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about working with great people. Bear McCreary, I don't know if anybody's familiar with his work. Yeah, so it's fine for that one. Little show called The Walking Dead.
Little show.
Battlestar Galactica, I don't know. My kid is actually named after a character from Battlestar Galactica.
Really?
So, yeah, Hilo.
That's awesome.
Our favorite character while she was pregnant, that was our favorite character on the show, so ended up doing that, and everybody's completely confused by the name when we tell it. But yeah, I didn't think we were going to get him. Like, they had suggested it, and then we had a meeting, and I was just like a ball of nervous energy, just trying to pitch the project and make it seem exciting, and he was like, matching me for nervous enthusiasm. He was just so excited and so, like, on point with everything that we were talking about. And ever since we committed, and we committed with a high five. That's how we did it. It was the nerdiest moment of my life. I was just like, we're walking around the studio, and I'm like, I finally couldn't take it. I was like, so what's up? Are we gonna do this or what? Which is super subtle, right? And he's like, yeah, man, I want to do this. I was like, right as I did it, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you high-fiving this man? And right away, without hesitation, he high-fived me back, so I was like, all right, we're both dorks. It's fine.
Oh, wow. Shannon, for you as the studio head, having all these new people, new experiences, and trusting Corey and all of this, I mean, as far as personal growth with the studio, how do you feel about how everything is right now?
Right now, very, very pleased. It's been tough. It's been tough the last, few years, pivoting this franchise, We actually moved into a new facility. We had to grow this team like I've never seen before. The recruiting process on this has been a monster. And it's never easy balancing all these personalities and all this talent. Everybody has a very clear goal for how good they want this game, and we bump in together every once in a while.
Sure.
But it's all for the good of the ultimate goal of greatness and quality, and it's at a point now where I think we can all see it, and I think that's one of the things that really happened to our benefit early on is Corey was able to really get not only the team behind the story and the pivot that he would be making with Kratos, but the whole organization, PlayStation.
Yeah.
We had multiple meetings where he got up and pitched the game, and there was no questions. A lot of times you spend this kind of money, you get executives a little more inquisitive on why you're making certain decisions and so forth, and he was really able to nail it. So that gave us a lot of foundation, a lot of freedom, which PlayStation's so good about. allowing us to breathe through this very challenging time.
Yeah.
So we're in a good position right now. We just got to close the game out, and all the hard work's on the team.
I know. Do you guys have any final thoughts? Because I do have like 2 Facebook questions or so, and I would like to get to those, but I'd like to have, if you guys have any final thoughts on the game.
I think we as a studio have something built into our DNA, our culture, that just inevitably we find ourselves making like really terrifying decisions and going off in really terrifying directions. I mean, just talking about the sun and how like the technical challenges that are entailed in making that decision.
Yeah.
Going in a brand new direction with a new mythology. It's a right decision, but it's terrifying. And I mean, as a producer, I find myself sometimes terrified at the decisions that we're making. But
What a big decision.
yeah,
of course.
but I think it's a credit to the team, just talented artists, programmers, everyone pulling in a direction of greatness that I just want to give a shout out to everyone on the team and their hard work and dedication you saw that trailer. That took so much effort and talent, and people are putting in 120% to get things ready for everybody to see, and it's just I continually find myself inspired by everyone that I work with.
I think I sold that to people by saying, "Oh, don't worry."
Yeah. It never is. It never is. Yeah.
I think it's the perseverance too that really this group is so focused on taking those baby steps forward, and that's the only way you get through these big risks. And doing that in a united fashion, we're just going to get stronger and stronger through this process, and continuing to make you guys happy.
All right. Well, I do have a couple questions. One is from Joseph. I'm going to say his last name. I know I'm going to butcher it. It's Hamchow. He says, this is for Corey specifically. It says, the new game is about Kratos teaching his son not to make the same mistakes he made. Hypothetical scenario. Present day Corey is talking to the Corey that directed God of War 2. What does he say? Also, second question, how has the process different making the game than making God of War 2 for you personally?
First, present day Corey would say to old Corey, "You're awesome." Old Corey would say thank you, because I was much nicer back then. I think I would say you need to introduce Gaia as the narrator more, because nobody's going to get it. It's going to feel out of left field. Don't fuck that up. I would say that to me, that one, oh, and then the last sister navigation puzzle thing. I think every one of us who directs one of these games has our sort of terrible choice. And I don't know if I can speak for Dave, but I think we've had many conversations about this. The vertical blade pulls in Hades, those were pretty rough. And I think that one in God of War 2, the weird Sister 3 navigation puzzle, that was just ill-conceived. I think we could have done a lot better on that one. But the process has changed tremendously. We have teams that are 3 times the size now. So trying to get that many people to agree on something, it's like, just get 3 people together and ask them where you want to go to dinner, right? That's never going to work. This is, 270 people all agreeing on a creative concept. It's very difficult. It is a constant management of expectations and keeping people in the loop. Did it break? All right, good. See, I care about people.
He does.
Or at least their phones. So yeah, it's interesting. In the beginning of the game, I did a pitch to the whole team on the story, but I didn't have the story figured out. We hadn't really figured it out, and we needed to do something to get everybody to understand sort of structurally what the game was. So we kind of just slotted a bunch of stuff in. Who knows, if we have it behind the scenes, you might see this, but it's like some really hand-wavy crap at the end of the game that was just like, and then we'll do this. And everyone's way more savvy to realize, oh, he hasn't really thought about that much. So that's definitely very different than we had to do it before.
Yeah. I do have another question here. It's a little, we'll see if you guys can answer it or not. It's the same person, Joseph, and he's asking, also, does the world serpent betray Kratos and Atreus as he is the son of Loki and Loki is the god of mischief? That's what this person is asking. And it's
Everyone's
on
going to
it.
just be all like dead silence.
Yeah.
Wall of silence, people, wall of
Sorry,
silence.
Joseph. Yeah, that's the only one from Joseph. So no answer on that one, unfortunately. You're going to have to play the game, Joseph. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for the team? Everyone's just like,
Right on.
All right, right up here.
Shows up. Oh shit! Thanks. My question was: are you going to see more Norse gods? Because I know with all the God of War games, you always saw like a different type of god, Zeus and all them. Will we see Thor, Loki, things along that nature?
Gods are a fairly important aspect of this mythology and this world. Specifically, whom and when you're gonna have to play. I'm sorry, that's a sucky answer, I know, but
It actually really wasn't, because there's some fact, because everyone knows God of War, you're going to see gods, but with a lot of aspects of Norse mythology, they were just, no one ever actually saw them, so it's just like, it was just the thought of them, so.
that is a really great point. I don't know if everybody heard that, but not a lot of, in sort of the Viking era, they always talked about how the gods had abandoned them, right? The gods were these sort of figures that had lived before them. Right? And prior to the Viking era is the migration, when Europeans moved north to Scandinavia and all those areas. And prior to that, the pre-migration is this period of time that we are taking place in the game. We are positing that is the time when the monsters and the gods and the giants all kind of walk the earth. That's when Midgard was kind of this sort of middle ground between all the different realms. So it gives us a tremendous amount of freedom, and so maybe they will be appearing, who knows?
Maybe.
Again, crappy answer, I know.
I think we have time for one more, and I believe it was right there.
So what I'd like to know is, what was it like when you were thinking about the new weapon, going from the blades of chaos to the axe of destruction? Calling it the axe of destruction, I don't care.
I'm sorry. What was that? Did you call it the axe of suction?
No, the axe of destruction.
Oh.
Yeah.
Axe of destruction is much better than axe of suction. It's not a very good microphone.
We have tech for that.
We have, right. The weapon was, very, very controversial in the beginning, just because we really wanted to kind of rip everything apart and rebuild it from scratch and kind of see what really is necessary, what is not. And, the combat team is incredible. I have an incredible team of designers, very creative, crazy people whom I fight with on a regular basis. And the sort of genesis of this was years in the making. I mean, this was definitely not flip a switch and it was all good. The kernel of the idea was definitely early on, but it took a long time, I think, to kind of find. We're still finding, to be honest. I mean, games are essentially, making those final tweaks as it's coming off the lot. I mean, it really is all the way until the end. And this one,
for a long time, there was the idea of not even throwing the axe.
Yeah.
Right. So, that addition in itself is sort of this amazing, memorable thing that you get to do every single time, and it never gets old in the game. Yeah. And so, I mean,
What forced the decision to throw the axe? Like, what was the impetus for making that
Vincent
decision?
Napoli. Yeah, he had this cool idea, and he had talked about it for a little bit, and I think he really just needed to put it in the game. And did it, and I think everybody was like, oh, this is really cool. This is the beginning of something. Him and George Mall is the programmer, and they both just kind of worked a little overtime and cranked this thing out as sort of a proof of concept, and it was just awesome. So much so that every review leading up to even E3 last year, I was annoying people to no end because I would throw the axe at everything in the world. Like in all the reviews, I'd just be like, boom, and it would just be my way of testing to see if there was any collision. So it'd be like, go through a tree, go through a rock. I'd be like, yep, no collision there. They're like, dude, stop that. They're like, we don't like throwing the axe now because you're ruining it for us. But I still, to this day. What's that? What's it? Give the microphone.
No, I was saying, can we get a evil cherry tree boss? You know, just so we can throw the axe at it. Come on.
That's awesome, and it's now going in the game.
But good try. You guys, thank you so much for the questions. And I just want to thank Corey, Ariel, Jeet, and Shannon for joining us today on the God of War Behind the Curtain panel. We got to go to E3 2017. Have a great time.
Wrap it up.
Money got longer, speaker got louder, car got faster.
When them other girls ask you if I'm your girl, say ooh, ooh, ooh. A diamond to your pearl, the only one in your world, like ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, there's that love, and it's only between us. Pretend they don't see us, yeah. Ooh, there's that love.
All right, get ready. Ready to go? All right, E3 Coliseum. Great day for gamers. Lots happening over the show floor, and right now at the Coliseum, we got something really special. One of the things we wanted to do at the Coliseum was put together some guests that you would not normally expect to be together, and oftentimes journalists like me and other people will interview game executives, but then, you know, this show is about the fans, and fans come in all shapes and sizes, and right now we've got a really awesome panel. I can't wait to see this. We had a prep call the other day, and it was a ton of fun. Pete Parsons is the CEO of Bungie, of course. They've got Destiny 2. You guys excited about Destiny 2? Well, you can head on over to the show floor. You get a chance to play Destiny 2. Pete has been in the industry for a long time. As I mentioned, he's the CEO of Bungie, and he kindly agreed to come to the Coliseum and be interviewed by a Destiny superfan who also happens to be a WWE superstar, The Big Show. So this is a conversation. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be entertaining. Please welcome The Big Show and Pete Parsons from Bungie. Guys, come on up.
What do you think? All these people here?
Pretty awesome.
everybody.
I'm nervous. I don't know if I can talk in front of a crowd.
I'm nervous because I'm
All right.
standing next to you.
It's okay. I did have a breakfast burrito, but I think everybody in the room is safe. All right. What is that clicking noise? Is that me? I think it's my beard's beating up my mic. Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
How's everybody doing today? Good? All right. Now, how many Destiny fans do we have here today? All right. How many Titans do we have here? Okay, you guys can leave now. If you guys don't know, of course, I'm WWE superstar Big Show. I am a legend in the business, which is a nice way of saying I've been around a long time. But what many of you may not know is I'm also a bit of a gamer. I know it doesn't make sense with hands the size of this, but in my world, in my life, I'm constantly on and being nice and taking pictures and interacting with people. For me, my relax, my escape is gaming. And for some of you guys that understand that are gamers, if you're a gamer, you understand what it's like to get away and get into your game that you love, whatever it is. Destiny happens to be my favorite game. And of course, I'm very fortunate and very lucky because of the things I've done in my wrestling career. I get a chance to sit down with the CEO of Bungie, a great guy, Pete Parsons. You owe me $5 for saying that.
Well, we feel fortunate that not only are you a player, but you're part of the community. Talk about the community and what it means to you.
Well, the community to me, that's the thing. I think I've played different games over the years, and it was funny. As a kid, I didn't get to be much of a gamer because I worked and all that other stuff. But as I got older, I got to get into gaming. And Destiny took me right away. My first patrol on Earth. I was a green noob. I mean, like I was scared if a mouse popped out, it would kill me. And I remember I was running around my little patrol and not really knowing where anything's coming from or what's going on. And there was a yellow bar that came out. And I knew right away, oh, run. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there were like 4 guys that popped in with speeders that were like, level 20 or whatever they were. They were so much higher than I was. And they killed the yellow bar. And then they all sent messages. And I didn't know anybody from Adam. And I thought, wow, this is a cool game. Like, you don't know anybody. But we all have one thing in common. We're going to kill the bosses and we're going to kill the moms. So it got me hooked right away. And then for me, it gave me a chance to be a part of a community that really, because we work hard to kick the hell out of your game. You know that, right?
Sure do.
There are some of us that look for cheese spots. I don't. That often. Once in a while, with when you have the ogre that all of a sudden starts running faster, there's that one spot you can hide.
I think the ogre just about came out.
I think the ogre came out there. Anyway, I love the fact that you have to work together as a team, and everybody has a different role. Now, you guys have known over the years I've always bagged on Titans, how they get the fist of panic. It's not fist of havoc, it's fist of panic. In PvP, I think the reason I have such hatred for Titans, and I didn't run a Titan, is because I got owned by so many Titans in PvP. As soon as you turn a corner, there's a shotgun, fist of panic. I'm nervous. My beard wants more camera time.
Let's try that.
All right, is that better? All right, can you hear me now? All right, and the thing about it is, but honestly, I think with D2 coming out, I'm gonna have to invest some time in a Titan. I really will. I love being a hunter.
Oh, excellent.
I love being a hunter in D1, but at the same time, with the new challenges that I think that I'm looking forward to, we're going to play this game later today, right?
Yes, right. Yes, sir.
Hey, I get it. I'm happy to do this, but I got a price, right? Hey? But I'm definitely looking forward to it because that's one of the big things that you and I did get a chance to talk about a little bit briefly was the importance of the clans.
Yeah.
You talked about that how there's going to be a little bit more specific things for clans. So the better your clan is, you're going to get clan opportunities now, which, those of us, we all run with our crew. We got our guys, the one guy that eats potato chips the whole time, the one guy whose kid's screaming in the background, the one guy.
About the potato chip guy.
Yeah, I got this really good friend of mine, Kadeem, and Kadeem is Captain Crunchy. Because every time I play with him, all it is crunch, 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 crunch. I'm dieting. You know how frustrating it is to play a game and see somebody eating really crunchy chips? It makes it a little harder. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenges going to be put forth through the
Yeah, I think the plans are going to be great. By the way, thank you for playing online as well. We're so fortunate to have the community. I can't tell you, we're part of that community. I can't tell you how much we play at the studio. I get to work with.
I played with some of your guys.
Yeah, you have before. Yeah.
It was funny because a lot of people think I'm full of BS, not full of Big Show, but full of BS. When I tell them I play Destiny, and then a couple of the guys that created the game kind of called me out a little bit. Come and raid with us, and I'm like, okay, but you guys better be up to par because
So was that before or after you sent us the broken controller? Was that the...
The broken controller came after I got owned by a Titan. I'm telling you, there's a lot of hate from Titans. There's a lot of hate from Titans. There's nothing like turning a corner and getting a fist of panic and I'm gonna make a Titan. Yeah. But so I got to play with some of the developers. Some of the guys actually created the game. And we ran that last raid, and I would like footnoted for the record.
Yeah.
Your guys created the game. How many times did I die in the raid?
If I remember, you said 0 times.
Right. Who had the most amount of kills in the raid?
I think we're going to go look at the data on that.
I think you should look at the data and find out that Big Show's a hunter.
I roll a hunter too.
But that's the thing, there's no saying you say, as long as you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. And you can definitely tell one of the great things about Destiny, not just in the community that we have, but also in the developers themselves. They create this game, they play this game, they love this game. So they have the same frustrations, like when you do, a weekly trial and you get 3 strange coins. It's awesome to put that much work in and get 3 strange coins. And some guy that hid in the cheese spot the whole time gets an exotic. It's totally fair. Totally fair. You're so sorry. You need an exotic weapon to help your gaming. I'll take my 3 coins and wait for Friday to see Zur.
I can tell you we are our own worst critics. So you're right. At the studio, we play Destiny. That's what we do. We don't just play it because we're working on it. We play it because we love it. And we love being part of the community. You were mentioning clans earlier.
Right.
And that's going to be a big part of by putting clans in the game, how do we bring people together under their own common banner? And then when they do that, then they have guided games. And so...
What was the thing you told me, and it made a lot of sense to me about Destiny, just because I do love the game, but it's the game you want to play with the people you want to play with.
Yeah, so one of the things we say at Bungie is that we want to create a world that people want to spend time in, that they want to be in, a world that they care about. Mm-hmm. Once you have that world that you've built up, you fill it with a bunch of really fun things to do, lots of different activities.
How about the lore in Destiny? The history behind Thorn. You know what I mean? Like me, I love the Marvel movies, I love the DC, I love the Star Wars, I love the larger-than-life fantasy. I love that stuff. Like, let my imagination grow and dream bigger than ever. But when I look at all the history of Destiny, I'm thinking, wow, this is a great opportunity for graphic novels. Is that something that may happen in the future?
I think that would be a lot of fun. Once you build a world, you can do lots of fun things in it.
It's a great opportunity for Destiny movies. We need a giant hunter.
A giant hunter?
See what I did there?
It's a story of a hunter.
Yeah. Yes, you see I did that? In wrestling, we call that booking yourself. See what I did there? Getting yourself that main event spot, yo. Yeah, but there's so much history. I think that's part of the
fabric. You kind of look like a Titan, though, right?
Yeah, okay, I'll play a Titan in the movie. I got it. I'll be a Titan. I'll run around with my fist of panic. Actually, that'd probably work pretty good. Maybe I should change my finish to the KO punch to the fist of panic. You know, when you look at all the lore and all the time, and then you talk with the people that created the game, this is not a game that the creators of, you know, the people at Bungie and the creators of Destiny, they said, oh, we're just going to put this game together so we can push a product out to fans so that they spend time and money on the game. Okay, yes, it's a business. We all understand that. But these guys put heart and soul and passion in developing this game with history and lore, and something that they didn't take from anything else, because Destiny is its own unique universe, its own unique concept, its own unique bad guys, bosses, aliens, stories, heroes, you know, fallen heroes. You know, we talk about the Guardians that have fallen before, and some of our missions we run into fallen Guardians and whatnot. I dig that up because to me that puts me in a completely different universe, and it makes it more absorbable, if that makes sense. You know, I love that part of the game. And I tell you one thing, if you guys aren't aware, when you do good work and you're enjoying something, and then you find out that more about, you know, Bungie itself and some of the work that Bungie does, they talk about the gaming community in Destiny. But do any of you know the community efforts that Bungie does to give back to different communities? You want to explain a little bit about some of the
I was just about to
work?
ask you for a job, if you wanted a job, because
Hell
that
yeah, I
was
want a
awesome.
job.
That was great.
I want some codes too.
Yeah. You know what? Oh man, I knew it.
Yeah, we gonna, you ain't leaving here without some codes, Jack. I'm not waiting 6 months to get a gallon horn this time. I'm getting it day one.
You talk about world building. Hey, one of the things I love, which goes back to our community, if we can create a great world and put a bunch of fun stuff to do it and make sure that everything is more fun to do with or in front of your friends, what's great about that is then you all start telling your own stories. And that's maybe the most heartwarming thing for us, is to see the people who've come together, who've connected, who are playing, maybe never in a way they have before. I mean, I've reconnected with friends from all over.
No, I don't want to see my friends. They all want money, so.
Well, your friends just eat chips too, but
yeah, friends that eat chips, friends that want money.
But the stories around the community, and so hopefully, you know, whether it's with clans where we can make those communities tighter, whether it's with guided games where we can bring in new people into those clans.
Well, you create such a great environment with the clans. The community becomes a big deal. You know how we all work together as you know, when we're doing our raids. Everybody's got their assignments, their jobs. You know, we shoot the high priest, you know, with our touch of malice. Okay, back in the bubble, you know, run around 3 times, there you go, you know. It's a little stressful. Sometimes I think you guys are laughing, why am I gonna run around this 3 times? Okay, but anyway, I get it, it's challenging and I dig that. One of the things that I was doing a little bit of reading on Bungie before I got to do this, you know, awesome interview with Pete, the Guardian community itself has gone above and beyond outside of the game. Some of the Guardians have done a lot of work with Make-A-Wish. And you know I've done a lot of Make-A-Wish with WWE. It's a fantastic organization. We've got actual gamers, our Guardians, that do cosplay, dress up as Titans, Warlocks, Hunters, and help and go and visit sick kids like at St. Jude's. That's your community, that's you guys giving back. You know?
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know, that's an amazing testament to your commitment to the community, your commitment to the game, your commitment to each other, but also your commitment to humanity. Because let's just face it, nowadays, there's a lot of people out there that are constantly taking. When we have groups of people that come together to give back, that's when we're really moving ahead, and that's when we're really moving forward.
Yeah, that was incredible for us to see. We've been working on
That's your community that you created.
Oh man, I mean, they created themselves. We actually made the great stage, and then all of the players made it a great place to spend time in. I mean, we've been working. We have the Bungie Foundation, which has been doing work for many years, going all the way back to Hurricane Katrina. We do make a lot of the Make-A-Wish work, as well as we have.
I'm getting my wish today. I'm getting some codes. Yeah. Just saying, you're not getting out of that. But sorry to interrupt, sir. Go ahead. Codes.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm getting tired of the code question, Paul.
Hey, man.
I'm just saying.
Yo, we're cool, bro. I'll learn it the hard way.
I knew this might happen based on our call.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd have to bring back up with Cold Heart.
Okay, that's an exotic.
One of our new exotics.
Oh. If you've never seen a 7-foot, 370-pound nerd cry, you're about to. Whew, this is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
No,
right.
y'all can't have it. You know, earlier before I was teasing about the codes, wow, this is absolutely amazing. The detail and work in this is so cool. This is like really, like I'm going to annoy the hell out of my family with this. I can feel it.
And so much of this great work actually comes out of the community. It's about
Really?
people playing together. It's about not just the cosplayers. It's about all of the different, you know, gear people are creating, people coming together.
Yeah,
It's pretty awesome.
I love the dedication, the imagination that goes into it, but I also love the fact that Bungie gives back. You know, Bungie does a lot of work. You know, he talked about since Katrina, but also, you know, Bungie donated over $1 million to Nepal after that, you know, that horrendous accident over there.
Yep.
You know, I mean,
thank you.
That's a statement, and that starts, you know, that starts at the leadership all the way down, and that's your commitment to give back to your community as well and the people around you.
Yeah, and that was part of that was also part of our community, and we were very fortunate. And you know, I get to work with about 700 of some of the most talented people in the world who are part of our community together. And it's not just about
codes.
And so when we have an opportunity, we've been very fortunate, so we have an opportunity to give back to that community. We get to do great things. And so even the work on Nepal, like part of that was funded by the community through our t-shirts, the t-shirt campaign we did. Our store drives a lot of their profits back into the store. And then we also do our Children's Orthopedic Hospital in Seattle. We have our iPads for Kids program. And I just have to give a huge shout out to the Bungie Foundation team because at Children's Hospital, there's a lot of sick kids. And every kid, I think in almost every inpatient and outpatient part of the hospital now, a kid who wouldn't otherwise have something like an iPad can come in, they get a free iPad that they can use while they're there. And the entire foundation team is amazing, and the team that backs it up is amazing. Yeah. And you guys are all amazing to help fund it as well, so thank you very much.
That's amazing. Now, Pete, if I may, can I hit you with some questions?
Sure, yeah, sure, as long as they're not about codes.
Well, I have nothing to say then. One of the things, like, you know, I have a lot of my fans that hit me up with some stuff, and there's a lot of talk that I've been getting my way. I don't know if you guys are part of that too. You know, we have the PlayStation platform, we have the Xbox platform. Is there any potential in the future that maybe we'll be able to, us PlayStation guys can go over and, you know, whoop the hell out of some of those Xbox guys down the road?
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
well, not.
You know, I always get the guys that talk trash and they go, what game is this you on? And I'm like, I'm on I'm on Xbox. Yeah, I bet you are. You talked all that smack and realized you're about to get smacked up and you're on a different system? Right.
Well, not currently, but we do focus on making sure that the game is the best it can be on any platform. And you know, we're introducing PC this year.
PC, wow!
So, which is going to be pretty exciting. So
I know, but my fingers, computer keyboard.
Well, that's all right. You can use a controller.
Okay, yeah, I'll be all right.
If you want.
I got to keep my rep up. You know, big reach, slinging 187s, yo. So, okay, I'm not a rapper. If I was a rapper, I'd be Saran Wrap because I got it covered. Not good. Okay, bad. That's terrible. But that was terrible. One of the things too is, okay, now Destiny 2 is actually coming out earlier and projected September 6th, correct?
Yeah, so we originally announced September 8th, and on console will be coming out on September 6th.
And we start our beta July 21st?
July, I believe it begins July 18th.
18th? I love it when I'm wrong and it's even better for me.
And then the PC version will launch on October 24th with its beta sometime in August.
Now that PC version, that's the elite gaming platform when you're on the PC version, correct?
I don't know, you know, there's elite gamers everywhere. I mean,
well, yeah, I know. I mean, hey, yeah, I'm right. Like hey. It's okay. I'm glad to be here.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting for us to be on the PC because there's a whole bunch of people who want to play on the PC and they're going to be excited. But
I like the fact that you're giving this game, you know, as multiple platforms for exposure for everyone to enjoy it and understand what our community is about. And I think that's incredible that now we're also going to be part of PC, Xbox, PlayStation.
Yep.
It's just such a huge community. It's really a good deal. Now, when you when we started talking, you originally came over from Microsoft, correct?
Yeah, originally I was at Microsoft, and then had the great fortune to be on the early Xbox team and meet the Bungie team in the late '90s. And
Right. So you started.
Had been a Marathon fan prior before that.
Marathon. All right. Now, but you started developing the first Halo, correct? Were you part of that
Well,
team?
so I was working primarily on the Xbox side, and then got to work with the team while they were working on Halo, and then shortly after that came over full time to the Bungie, and started
Right.
working on Halo 2.
And before you went to Microsoft, you were a bodybuilder.
No, I was not a bodybuilder.
He worked for who?
I worked for Joe Weider.
Yeah, he was a
not a
bodybuilder.
bodybuilder.
Yeah, he was.
No.
He was a protein shake, ab sit up, curling kind of guy. It's okay. It's okay to be a nerd with muscles. I'm okay with it.
Well, it was always like gaming, and it was such a great opportunity. I mean, particularly when Bungie came around,
Right.
to really. I remember looking at Halo and saying, "Oh my gosh, that's a world that we want to be in," and that's exactly what we've been able to do with Destiny, is hopefully create a world that you want to be in. And now we get to create these great communities, and hopefully see the fruits of that labor, which is
Well, I
really
think the fruits
amazing
of
for us.
labor are showing because the game's growing, and when we first started, Vault of Glass was ridiculous. Remember, like Vault of Glass was like, oh, this is like so hard. And then once you got your light levels up and your weapons up, and now I go back and play Vault of Glass for fun, just to beat it to death. Like when you run Vault of Glass almost by yourself, you're really being a bully. At the light level I'm at now, it's kind of fun. But I love how the fact that as the game progresses, the challenges become more. What are we doing different with Destiny 2? Is our vault space going to be different?
Well, we're not talking about that, but I think you're going to find a lot of new stuff to do.
Okay,
in
I do
Destiny.
have one
it's
thing.
Big story.
I'm
Can't wait to play.
excited to find out because I'm going to get to play that a little bit today, right? A little bit of a test
Yeah,
today.
you're going to get to play a little bit today. You play Inverted Spire, I
Let me
think,
see.
the Strike. So, and we can't wait for the beta to come out for all of you as well. That's going to be an exciting moment. I know the team is really fired up about it.
Are you going to take the salary cap off? I need to know that I need to see 6
You have all these
million.
questions.
I need
Let's
to
wait
see
until
6
we,
million
we
in Glimmer. 25,000 just, it feels like my parents are putting an allowance on me. Just saying. I'll trade the 25, I'll stay at the limit. I just need a couple codes.
Let's just play together first, and then we'll see what you think. Oh, you're asking for codes now?
Well, yeah.
all right.
Hey man, we're close. We bonded.
Yeah, we did.
A couple codes, we'll go work out. I mean, we're practically bros.
I would die. That's, I think, what would happen.
No, you're in great shape. It'll be fine. The only thing that I truly want to get the message out today, and you don't get a lot of time to talk, obviously, and you guys are here to see a lot of different things, and thank you very much for supporting Destiny 2.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we're excited about it as well. But one of the main things that I personally want to get across is how incredibly awesome that Destiny community is, and how awesome you guys are that play.
Yeah.
And some of you don't know it, but some of you, when you're playing, may be playing with me. So I enjoy playing with all of you. I enjoy the game. I'm very excited about Destiny 2, the new adventures we're going to have. I'm already itching right now to go try out this new one. And, D2 is going to be the bomb, diggity. So I'm looking forward to playing, and hopefully I'll see you guys out there in the community somewhere. And if there's a big yellow bar and I'm lowballing it, just try to come and help me out, please.
Thanks, Paul. And thank you all again. We couldn't be happier to have you play. And I want a big thanks for the entire team back at home.
Definitely.
We can't wait to see you online. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Thank you for this. Very cool. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. It's going to go get me some codes. That's what it's going to do. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm getting some codes before I'm leaving. Thank y'all. Have a blessed day.
I'm going to de-mic you right here.
Coming up in just 3 minutes, World Builders, featuring Chris Hardwick, Neil deGrasse Tyson, James Gunn, Kiki Wolfkill, and Randy Pitchford. See you in just 3 minutes. All right, the E3 Coliseum continues. A couple great panels already. This next one is something really cool and special. It's an awesome conversation about games with an eclectic group of people that you might not expect to come together. I can't wait to hear what they have to say, and we have an incredible host to guide this panel. Please welcome Chris Hardwick.
Excellent. Thank you for coming out. This is a great panel, a great collection of humans. I'm going to introduce them one at a time. Everyone comes from a different space in the storytelling world, and we're going to talk about world building and why it's so important. And do you stick to rules? Do rules inform story? Does story inform rules? Certainly very important for video games because we personalize them so much. We're very passionate about them. I'm 200 hours into Zelda right now. I don't think it would have killed him for one fucking bit of rain climbing armor would be great. They thought not important. Fine, rains all the time, no big deal. So I still love the game. All right, so I'm going to introduce everyone, and then we'll talk for a bit, and then you guys will have a chance to ask some questions. So right now, I would like to introduce Mr. James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, Slither, Super. Also, CEO of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford! Borderlands! Tales from the Borderlands! And also head of transmedia for 343 Industries, Kiki Wolfkill is here as well. And live via satellite because he is orbiting the planet. Neil deGrasse Tyson, I believe, is coming in. Are we piping him in? This is always, listen, whenever you hear via satellite, like 100% of the time, that goes perfectly. Yeah, it never fails.
At this point.
So I don't know where Neil is, but he'll pop in at some point.
It's not interpretable. It's
I hear him.
Complete static.
Oh no, I don't know if he knows we hear him.
You guys can hear me?
This is a recipe. This is like when someone butt dials you, I never want to hear the message. Never want to hear like, oh, I butt dialed that asshole. Like I never want to hear that.
You gotta grab him by the supernova.
No, don't say. There he is! Neil deGrasse Tyson. I just want him to go, show me what you got.
He's gigantic.
I know, Neil. Neil, you're on a mat. Can you see us at all? Can you see us at all? It is the age of Neil. Neil with it. Thank you for joining us, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Good to see you again. So, world building is.
I don't know if they can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, we can hear
I guess you can't hear us.
Okay, there's also a little bit of time delay, so we just got to sort of feel that.
It's just,
The speed of light sucks.
it's just a 5-minute time delay. It's not a big deal.
It's the speed
The
of sound
speed of
we're
light
dealing with.
so sucks. I'm communicating to you from Mars.
Yes. All right, so we'll start here. We'll talk about world building because everyone represents a different facet of storytelling. So let's start with James Gunn. Let's talk about. Are you giving?
Justine down there. Yeah.
Oh, hey, what's up? How's it going, Justine? So let's talk a little bit about story building for film, and especially porting a comic over to a film. Do you start with the rules that you're building for the universe, or do you start with the story, and does the story inform what the rules are?
I don't think there's any beginning, and I don't think there's any right or wrong to it because everybody's process is different. I also think that everything is a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I know for me, when I first was pitched Guardians of the Galaxy, it was something that my first hearing of it, I thought it was not a good idea. I thought it was a talking raccoon with these strange characters. I thought it was too weird. I thought it sounded to me like when they first pitched to me as if it was Bugs Bunny in the middle of the Avengers. And I didn't think it was something that was going to
That's not a bad idea, by the way.
Well, it could be in Space Jam 2 with the Avengers. But as I was driving home, and I knew the Guardians from the comics and I really liked them, but I just didn't think it was something that was going to fit into the Marvel Universe. But as I was driving home, I thought, okay, well, let's just, take a moment and think about this. And I thought, if there was a such thing as a talking raccoon, what would it be? How could it come to be? If it really existed, how could it come to be? And I found the answers to those questions were actually these incredibly sad, answers. That if there was a creature that was, screwed with, experimented upon, turned into this creature, that he was really a sort of Frankensteinian monster. Frankensteinian?
Yeah, I like it. Go with it.
And he a very lonely, sad creature. And to me, that was the foundation of the entire Guardians of the Galaxy Guardians verse, was that moment of realization that, you could build upon that rule. So that rule, for me, is at the center of everything. It's, the fun of Guardians. They're taking these outrageous, ridiculous pulp fiction concepts that really don't make sense, and then trying to make sense of them. Why does this exist? Why does that exist? In the second movie, I have a living planet played by Kurt Russell. And for me, that was the same question. If there was a such thing as a living planet, how could it exist? So it's always building those blocks one at a time. And for me, with Guardians, I have hundreds and hundreds of pages of the different cultures. What do they believe in? What are their values? What is for the Ravager? For our culture, we think of basically sex and luxury. That's all our technology is geared towards, sex and luxury. I think in the Ravager culture, it's a sense of touch, it's feel. So even though they have the technology to create spaceships that are much more efficient in certain ways, they're into the feel of it, just like somebody loves driving a Ford Mustang and feeling that engine. So I'm always thinking about that stuff, but it is within the construct of a giant pulp space opera, not really a science fiction movie.
So do you feel like when you're watching something and you feel the disconnect where you just feel like, I'm not into this, I don't believe the world, they're breaking all their own rules, do you feel like that was just the function of, kind of building off of what you said, how you ask questions, you feel like they just didn't ask deep enough questions to understand the answers that provide the foundation for the rule set for that world?
I feel like oftentimes storytellers will tell a story point at the sake of the internal validity of the story. And so it doesn't so much bother me if things sometimes break the rules of physics, break the rules of science, as long as that's consistent within the story itself. In fact, I love that.
I know.
Well, like,
ladies and gentlemen, your new meme.
Well, listen, I mean, we're telling space, they're stories, they're fables, they're not, I do like trying to be as scientifically valid as possible, but there are times when, there are stories that don't, fit within that.
Yeah.
However, it needs to be internally valid. It needs to follow the rules that the story itself set down. And it can't, I love the movie District 9. But when District 9 is a documentary for most of the movie, and then all of a sudden we see behind the scenes where we're seeing characters that don't have cameras on them, it drives me, I can't enjoy the movie. I simply cannot enjoy the movie because it drives me crazy. There's one guy.
Someone finally said it! Someone was brave enough, but he still was like, oh, just me.
And it's hard, when you're a screenwriter and a director, it can be really hard because you're like, oh my God, I have this idea for this great scene, but it breaks Rule B that we set up earlier. And for me, I will never break Rule B as long as I know what it is. Now, I've made mistakes, and people have pointed them out to me, many times. But for the most part, if I know a rule is there and I know I'm breaking it, I will not do it for the sake of the story.
So let's talk about, let's get into the video game space, where you are literally creating everything. You're making all of it.
Yes.
You're programming it, you're making it, you're building it. So what's the first question you ask when you approach something like Borderlands? Is it, oh, it'd be really cool if it were this kind of a wasteland type of or is there a specific story element that you want to tell?
Well, in video games, I tend to break things down in terms of story, style, and design. Whereas story is it's not the plot, it's like the premise, like who, what, why, where, when, kind of like the newspaper story. Style is look and feel, it's art direction, it's audio direction. And design is the input and output, it's the actual gameplay, it's the camera, it's the control. And in truth, when you begin a concept, it can start on any of those vectors. But wherever it begins, everything else has to kind of fall in line. So with Borderlands, we really began with a design premise. I had this hunch that if we took the addictive stuff from RPGs, things that gave us long-term engagement, we could layer that in with first-person action games, which is all about short-term engagement, and they're not mutually exclusive. I had this hunch that we could jam those two ideas together in a gameplay premise. But from there, like if we're going to make a game where the entire test of the game is basically killing people and taking their shit so you can get their loot and level up, okay, how do we make good guys out of that? So then the story, follows where we have to build a universe where you can actually find some goodness in the characters that are doing these things. And then style was actually last, and I think some people that were following us from the beginning noticed that we had it wrong at the beginning. We started with this kind of more realistic kind of style, and then we realized that the tone of the game and also the look and feel had to give us a turn to the kind of graphic novel look that we ended up with. At the beginning, when you have a universe like this but you're trying to entertain people, we kind of found that we didn't want to spend time in the Borderlands. But with the style that we landed on, it kind of took this really ugly and dangerous and violent place and it found a way to kind of make it beautiful and fun. And the style is what brought that element to it. So all those three things had to come together. But it definitely led on design and then followed with story and style. And that's not always the case. Sometimes they lead on story, and sometimes they lead on style. It's different each time.
Well, with Tales, which I was fortunate enough to get to do a voice for, and I still, just based on the script, I didn't know what the fuck was going on because we had to do, it was so non-linear because we had to do every choice.
Yes.
We had to record voices for every choice. So, even to that degree, the story's linear, but it's still a little looser because you're allowing the person playing to really sort of choose the path that they want.
The interactive fiction stuff, it's fun as a creator, to create all those different pathways and to create all those outcomes. It must be torture as a performer.
That's like the hardest life ever. It's so hard.
Well, no, just to try to figure out where things are going, because I think all good acting. In fact, all good storytelling, you kind of have to know where you're going to end up.
Right.
And knowing where you're going to end up helps you get there. So
Right.
you can amplify and emphasize the things that are going to matter to make that end point even more important. And I think all storytelling, you kind of need to know where you're going. But if you're playing a game, or if you're acting in a game where you have multiple outcomes, what do you do?
Well, yeah, I mean, you sort of have the initial statement, and then you go through and you record every possible outcome for everything, so you don't really know where you are in the story. Obviously, it's much more seamless when you're playing. But I'm curious about something like Halo, where the really interactive nature of people playing with each other really informs a lot of what's going on in the story. Does the game itself feel kind of like, well, we're building an obstacle course and just throwing a bunch of people in and it just becomes Battle Royale, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination. I mean, Halo is built on a sandbox, right? So the whole idea, first-person shooter, you want the player to feel like they are in the space. And, we basically build all these tools and scenarios so that the player can go through and sort of inhabit the world they want to. So, as Randy said, it starts with design. It starts with that first-person experience, and then it's what is the universe you build around that so it feels believable, right? You need that person in the first-person view to feel a real sense of time and place and connection to the world around them, and then the stories sort of come out of that, right? Who are they? What are the things happening around them? But our universe evolves a lot. We talk to the community a lot. We hear from the community a lot. And, we want to set forth a universe and an understanding of the world in the future that they can feel invested in and then give back to. So we hear a lot of different story ideas and input and gameplay ideas. So we really feel like it's a co-creation as we move forward.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because especially, a lot of when people who don't understand the gaming community go, the gaming community, I don't know, they seem extra passionate. It's like, yeah, because you spend, a movie, you can watch the same movie over and over again, but it's really just a contained 90-minute or 120-minute experience. With a game, like I've been playing Zelda for 200 hours. On Skyrim, I played for a year and a half, and the last 6 months was just running fucking grocery errands to fill my house. Like, I need cabbages in this house, why not? Just move out of the way, orphan, I got some cabbages to throw in there. So, we attach so much of our identity to these games, and especially when you're making choices, they really do, and they really are connected to your psyche. So how much do you feel obligated when you say it's a co-conversation? How much do you feel obligated to listen when people are like, this should be this or this shouldn't be this? Like, how do you know how to sort, and how much do you give into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we have a really passionate community, which is amazing, right? To be able to have a daily conversation, which is essentially what we do, is a gift. And there's a lot of different opinions. The Halo audience is really diverse in terms of the things they're into and the things they care about. Some people are very universe driven, some people are very, those specific gameplay rules around multiplayer. And ultimately it's a balance, right? Because you have to have a vision and commitment to what you want to deliver, while at the same time being aware of what you're hearing and being aware of, maybe choice X wasn't the best choice. And being comfortable and agile in moving in that direction. But, there's a lot of voices out there, and at the end of the day, you have to sort of move forward with conviction and vision.
So Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's been presiding over these proceedings.
The wizard.
Here he is. Wait, keep doing that, Neil. I hope I got that. So Neil understands literal world building. He understands world building in the actual universe, if presuming that we're not a simulation. So what is it, Neil, especially being someone who will watch things and say, that wasn't entirely accurate, or the stars were off, and that. How important is real-world physics to you, like that kind of world building, especially now that you're embarking on your own game, Space Odyssey? how is that important, and how is that informing the type of product that you're making?
So first, that's an important question. Let me first assert that I'm not as obnoxious about it as people want to think I am in terms of pointing out what a game or a movie might get wrong. And let me begin by talking not about world building, but about world destroying. So in Star Wars Force Awakens, they had this sort of updated, updated Death Star where it could suck the energy out of a star and use that to destroy planets, more than one at a time. Was it a half dozen? I don't remember the number. And the reason why I'm citing this example is if you calculate how much energy is contained in a star, if it took all of that energy, it could destroy 1,000 planets. So somebody missed that calculation where the real physics could have further...
The fuck, JJ?
Could have made it...
Why don't you blow up 1,000 stars?
Could have made it much more deadly.
That's Gary Whitta.
Oh, it was Gary. It was Gary Whitta.
That's Gary. So, wait. So I don't have the patience for people who say, I don't want the laws of physics to constrain me, because in fact there's so many cases where the laws of physics liberate you, and I just want to put that on the table. So now we talk about world building. The laws of physics, look at how many hours we spend in front of these games, especially you, Chris.
Yes.
So, wouldn't it be nice if you learned something about the actual universe in all of those hours that you spend? So the goal here is to get the laws of physics as we know them and as they manifest in the real universe, and then give you access to these laws of physics in such a way that you have the power to build planets, to build stuff on planets, to build weapons, vehicles, and it's all operating under the accurate expression of the laws of physics. And so this is, well, consider, do you remember, I'm thinking of two films. I'm thinking of the first Hulk movie and Catwoman. When the Hulk and Catwoman...
You might be the only person thinking about those.
No, I'm thinking about those also right now. My mind was wandering.
But do you remember when they jumped? In each of those two movies, it just didn't feel right. Something was wrong, and you knew it. Even though you were not calculating the ballistic trajectory of a green person through air, you knew it was false, okay? And so a part of me wants to honor what we know you should be feeling when the actual laws of physics are operating. And then once you have this power, run with it. And I'll tell you, for example, we have thousands of exoplanets in the catalog right now, where we have some basic information about it, but not total information. All right, we know that some are in the Goldilocks zone. It could sustain liquid water, but does it? Will it? Does it have life? Okay? And by the way, there is no understanding of chemistry without physics, and there's no understanding of biology without chemistry. So once you have these laws of physics in here, you can create anything. Ow. Sorry. You can create anything.
That was a demonstration of Newtonian physics.
Yes, it was. Sorry.
Newton's first law, I think.
So that is the goal.
That phenomenon you're talking about.
And by the way, I just want to add, before we send it back to the panel, I just want to add that the least interesting command you can give an engineer is to say, there are no constraints. Do whatever you want. Well, those are not the seeds of creativity. The seeds of creativity are you tell the engineer, well, we have this much fuel, you have this much payload, you can only go this fast here, but faster over here, and you got to come back and you only have this much food. Go. And then full creativity gets expressed in the face of these constraints. And so I don't think of the laws of physics as constraining. I think of them as liberating.
Excellent. And you
Yeah,
You had a comment off that.
Two things, actually. Echo that for fiction. It's with constraints that I think we're most creative, fictional constraints. And even though we could invent anything in a video game, it's in fact dealing with the realities of hardware limitations, software limitations, and the constraints of the universes we have. That unlocks creativity there too. So it's not just in real life. But what I was going to say was that phenomenon you were talking about, though, where we kind of have this innate ability based on our expectations to detect whether physics are simulating correctly or not. Like when we see a character in CG jump impossibly, our brain kind of rejects that as not right. But that same phenomenon, though, also kind of forces us in some cases when we're creating entertainment to break the laws of physics. It's why all spaceships in fiction tend to fly like airplanes instead of actual spaceships. Real spaceships don't need to bank with the wind.
Yeah, they can't.
They can just rotate and keep the trajectory going.
Yeah.
But our mind rejects it because we're used to seeing airplanes.
But also in deep space, you wouldn't hear a ship go.
Right. And there's no friction.
But for the audience, and I feel like that's.
But you also wouldn't hear a musical score of playing over everything. So
in my mind.
But that's sort of the agreement that we have as as fans of things. Like, okay, so yes, I understand the Hulk can't jump across a state. Like a green man couldn't jump across a state. However,
are you racist against green people? Why
Stop
can't
it.
green people
Stop
jump
it,
that
they
far?
can't.
But what the thing is with CGI, and I know because I have to deal with this for hours and hours and hours. One of the most difficult things to get into the completely CGI characters is the sense of landing and jumping. It takes a lot of work. You see some fabulous movies with fabulous CGI where they cannot get landings right. And it's something that we spend a lot of time doing. And it's a lot of times you'll see these CGI superheroes who they're jumping and they're just like bloop and they're up in the air as if they've just used the tips of their toes to do that, which of course is impossible. But and landing even more so because people pay less attention to it.
There's a lot of inertia going on in real life. Like even our cheeks will just sag a little bit if we jump off the couch. But in CG, it's so much more difficult to simulate those things. And in a video game,
then when you're dealing with
we're doing this stuff in real time, oh my God.
Yeah, but at
it's
some
impossible.
point, right, you just have to, there's a believability call, right? Like, I like physics. I don't maybe love physics as much as you. But at some point, you're just going to play in what feels right because these scenarios don't exist, right? For us, we tried to base a lot of our human factions in the UNSC very much in what we understand today because moving that forward doesn't mean those rules change. But when it comes to creatures who have to move and have features that don't exist, you maybe start with what's real, but then you go to what feels believable.
Well,
I
think
you start
that
playing with tricks to make it feel like something your body and eye doesn't reject.
There are certain times when things look, in all respect, there are certain times when things feel wrong when you're creating
and they can be
CGI,
completely
or even
right,
when you're dealing
right?
with stuntmen and wires and things like that. There are times when things feel wrong. But they actually are right. Or even with, the first movie I ever made was a movie called Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
And my brother was supposed to get punched in the face by my friend Val, and he went and he punched him in the face, and he actually punched him in the face. And he broke his nose, which was what he's supposed to do in the movie. And the sound that happens when you break a nose is kind of like this weird popping sound. And as much as we had a great recording of that popping sound, but it didn't sound right when you watched it. Now that was real, that was what it was, but to make the scene really work, and it is probably one of the greatest movies of all time. To make the scene really work, we put in another sound that was more like the sound you would expect a breaking nose to make.
That's an interesting point though, because that is definitely a product of our collective consumer experience just getting it wrong for so long because they had to make some sort of a noise that we were programmed to think, oh, when you hit someone, it goes, and it doesn't. So, I guess you don't feel like there's a responsibility like, no, this is how it really is. You really want to make sure that people, because that's just part of the agreement you have with the audience.
I feel like it's my responsibility to, first of all, my responsibility is number one and all as a storyteller. Yeah. So for me, physics is a tool to make things more believable. And the more I can involve real science in a movie as pulpy and space fiction-y as Guardians, the more believable people will feel inside of it, and it'll work better. That's my number one thing. My number two thing is, as we all know, we're living in a time when there is a siege on science and scientific belief. And that somehow it has become for reasons unknown to me, a political belief to believe in science, which seems ridiculous. So I do feel some sense of responsibility to the world and to the consumer to keep taking steps forward towards making things more scientifically believable, and to just make a statement that I myself believe in science and that it's an important thing for us all to believe.
Well, I do think they're two slightly different conversations in the sense that, if you're making something and you want to tie it to real world science versus, I think people will, as long as your rule set is strong enough and you stick to it, I feel like you can create any rule set that you want. Obviously I think Neil's preference in a lot of cases would be that it be more toward real science, but you can build those worlds as long as you can explain them, because I think people, the gap of disbelief is in as much as you give them the rule set and follow it. When you break it, what you're saying is, well, these rules weren't really that important, or we just didn't really see it through all the way, or fuck you. You know what I mean?
You're talking about You're talking about internal consistency.
I'm talking about internal consistency, and I think people will believe, as long as you are very clear about what the rules are and you follow those rules, you can bend those rules, and I think you can even break them as long as you come up with a really good fucking reason for why you're going to break those rules.
Sure.
And if you don't, it feels disrespectful. As an audience member, it feels kind of disrespectful.
Hear about fiction?
Yeah, we're talking about fiction. We're not talking about actual science.
Yeah, so just a moment ago we talked about fiction. Of course, fiction, bad fiction is interactions of characters that no one finds convincing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everyone you know who has that personality would not behave in the way you just wrote that into the story. And so I'm agreeing with the comment earlier that even fiction follows certain rules, and you want to stay consistent within those rules, otherwise you'll just lose your audience entirely.
Right.
And so I have no problems with internally self-consistent rules, and in fact, you know that this entire gaming community, the whole geekosphere, is going to hold you to those rules.
Yeah, we were part of the geekosphere.
They're going to tell you. Yeah.
Well, my things are. I think my high, like you were talking about your number one, your number two. My number one is I tend to put information. Like the audience has to know what the hell is going on. They have to understand, and if you've done a good job, then they'll like it. But if they don't understand what's going on or what you're trying to communicate, then you lose. So that's the highest priority. Then it's entertainment. But third is plausibility. It has to be on the list. It's definitely there. But I always put information and entertainment a little higher than that. I know that when I get behind entertainment and I'm on that team, I'll forgive certain things. For example, fans will tell us better than the story did why it is that the performance of the Millennium Falcon can be measured in parsecs instead of speed, right? A parsec is a measure of distance, right? So Neil's had fractures because if you're going to talk about how fast your ship is, you don't talk about that in terms of it made the Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs. But then fans will say, no, you see the Kessel Run, it's about optimizing your path, so distance is the metric. It's about getting around the black holes and
those are fun. Those are fun debates to get into.
But the fans will work for you if they like your entertainment.
Absolutely. They will write their own narrative, and that's the sign of a really good property. And so when people really start, becoming engaged and figuring it out, other than like, oh, when they were writing it, people weren't that sciencey, and parsec sounded like a cool word, so they just threw it in the thing.
And that's the truth. Which is
the true boring reason, but it's fun that people build an narrative around that. But, with Halo, with so many successive iterations of Halo, do you find like, well, we want to add rules, or we want to sort of take rules away, or we want to, like, how do you expand each time? Because obviously, every time you put something out, there is an expectation like, oh, well, this is going to be a better thing than the previous thing, because it's a new thing.
Yeah.
So how do you keep that up with a property that has been going on for so long?
Yeah, I mean, there's rules and then there's canon, right? And they're a little bit different, right? Because the rules are sort of the underlying foundation of how the universe works and what is possible to happen or not possible from a simulated physics perspective or new science perspective or space opera science perspective. And then there's canon, which is what are the stories that you've told, what are the backstories, what do people understand about characters, and can a character suddenly go from being male to female, or do you change the chronology of something that happened in the past? And that one's tricky, right, because canon serves a lot of the same purpose, which is provide understanding of the universe so that when you add to it, you know what you're building on. On the other hand, if there is a good reason to break canon and it is a better experience, we will always have that conversation, right? And in some cases we will say we have broken canon because of XYZ, it has to be meaningful. And in other cases we'll retcon a little bit. We'll play so Frank O'Connor, who's the franchise director on our team, is a master spackler, right? So sometimes we'll have big holes in our backstory.
I like that
or
term.
in our universe.
A
Yeah,
spackler.
it is seamless and smooth. Spackle. But there are times when, especially when you have so many stories, you break your own story, right? You don't mean to.
I had to face this yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm writing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and and I told Chris,
next time.
I finished the
I'm
first.
writing Guardians of the Galaxy.
I finished the first draft of the treatment yesterday, which I'm excited about. I feel really great about. But there's one little thing that I had in the first movie. Now, there's canon, Marvel MCU canon is crazy.
Yeah.
And then there's, and I'll get super geeky for 2 seconds. There's a 616 universe, which is the Marvel Comics universe, which people get hung up on that canon. And then there's the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which has a separate canon, which is inspired by, but not exactly the same as the 616. And I did something in the first movie of Guardians where it was in the background, but it's distinctly there, and people know that it's there, and I'm like, God damn it, I don't, because I have a really good storytelling reason for breaking that canon, and I stayed up last night figuring out if I'm going to do it or not. I still don't know.
Just don't lie about it, right? Like, don't try and hide it.
Let's vote.
It's like
Should I break canon or not?
Well, mostly, yeah.
This guy says no.
You say that now.
Neil has something to say on that.
What was the thing in the movie? What was the thing? Maybe our collective genius in the room can help you solve it without having to break canon.
You want to crowdsource your decision?
I'll actually tell you. I won't tell you the specific thing, but I'll tell you the general thing. In the first movie, there is the mugshot sequence where the characters go through and they're being, going through the mugshots. They're having their picture taken, and the Nova Corps has information about each of the characters coming up on their little their machinery.
Yeah.
Now, those things are something that your average viewer doesn't see at all and doesn't read, but there's a lot of background I put into those things about who they've worked with, where they're from, what's going on, and it's one of those things that I'm thinking about changing.
But see, that's amazing though, because that is.
But this guy will get beat the shit out of me.
No, you're good.
Somebody's gonna stab me.
You're good. That information source is unreliable. They just have that information.
That's good.
But
There you go.
that type of detail in world building is so appreciated by people who, because you might just appreciate something on the surface, but when something is that rich and has that much dimension and that much, and informs things that, I would say for anyone who's really trying to understand how to craft a perfect world, just watch all of Breaking Bad. It is a perfectly self-contained story that sets up, came out before a lot of you were born. But it perfectly sets up the rules, it bends them, they constantly set up these story points that you go, how are they going to get out of this? And not only do they get out of it, but it's the only and perfect way.
Yeah.
And things
Those are
that
my
happen in the
favorites.
first season
Yes.
get paid off like several seasons later. And so it's that kind of really detailed story building and world building that I think true fans really, really, really
And that's
do.
how you respect your fans, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how
Exactly.
you pay back to the fans who are investing the time and the energy to care.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that if you really love what you do as a creator, or as a world builder, or a storyteller, you're a fan of that world that you're creating. I mean, I often, and this is a strange thing, and it's a strange thing to say out loud because it sounds insane, but I think of myself as a journalist. And the journalism that I'm writing is just writing down these stories of a talking raccoon and a tree and this, because there is an element where I just kind of sit back and I kind of watch these things occur. And then I have to arrange them in such a way, but it really is existing as an audience member and allowing myself to be fully creatively in that space as I am witnessing what is happening and just writing it down and then sharing it with everybody
So I just want to
else.
make sure, because we have about...
But can I add something here?
Sure.
Just there's. So I think, was it Mark Twain who said, if you're a compulsive liar, you have to have a very good memory?
Right.
Was he the one who said that?
Yeah, Probably.
Something.
Because
Sounds
if you
sounds
only
like
tell
it.
the
No
truth...
way we'll ever be able to find out, I guess.
Yes.
If you only tell the truth, then you don't have to remember anything because it's just always the truth.
Right. Yeah.
So in the world building, every step you take away from what is the natural order of the universe, you would then have to remember every one of these details all the way down the line to stay consistent with that. So dare I suggest that if what was going on were fundamental physics but still exotic, as long as you stick to the physics, you don't have, it's all there. You can be 10 seasons down the line and you will make decisions and worlds and shapes and things, and you don't have to remember what you happen to have invented at some other time, because it'll be consistent with how the universe intended it to be.
Yeah, and well, especially if you like sci-fi too, though, because I think any Doctor Who fan has a bit of like, oh, okay, I guess they're doing this now. Sure, it's a fixed point in time. I'll accept that. Like you, because your relationship to, or Rick and Morty is another perfect example of like, how do Justin and Dan keep all these insane rules in place? And but you have a relationship with like, okay, this is batshit enough that if they break stuff, it's actually kind of funny. But that's part of the agreement that you have with that particular thing. But is there anything that you guys can think of, and then I want to make sure we have 15 minutes for audience questions. Is there anything you can think of that you really wanted to do and something you were working on, but the rules or the world that you had already set up absolutely forbade it, and there was no way that you could figure out how to sandwich it in?
Yeah, I'm dealing with, as we're working on the next Borderlands game. I've got this conundrum that's, and inside the studio there's even different opinions. There's a lot of speculation on the internet between the relationship between Tiny Tina and this character named Krieg. And some people think that, they're actually related. But there's some reasons why we haven't been able to do that and feel like we're internally consistent. And this is like what he was saying, where sometimes the rules are about your fiction and not about the physics.
Yeah.
And we're struggling with that right now. And I can see there's a lot of people that want it to be one way. And there's some reasons why it's not that way yet, but I don't know. We'll see. You'll find out where we end up.
Well, that's fine. So when you do make that choice,
Yeah.
if you have a very compelling reason, but people just don't want it,
yeah.
Are you in like damage control mode? Where you go,
And well,
no,
that's
here's the
trick.
reason why.
And that's the trick, because quality, and I maybe can say something about quality in this context, since somehow I ended up being responsible for Duke Nukem Forever. It has nothing to do with what you actually do. What it is it's relative to the expectation of the audience. Quality is entirely relative to expectations. So if everyone's expectation or wish is for one thing, and you subvert that, then you're just hurting their impression of quality.
Sure.
And it's a dangerous game to play.
But sometimes, and I find this now because we are so, as a culture, we're so used to being in control of things, being heard, getting exactly what we want, however we want it, whenever, how, in any form. So when people see something and they go, it's like if they watch an episode of Game of Thrones, well, this is dumb, this didn't have to happen this episode. It's like, You fucking haven't seen the whole show yet.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah.
Like, how can you even comment on something in an educated way if you don't know what's coming up? So there is, I imagine, a challenge with balancing the patience of the audience and like, please just hang on for a minute and you will find this will pay off.
But that's our problem too as entertainers. We've got to figure out how to engage and hold on to them. If we're going to get somewhere and take them somewhere, and we have to have them take some medicine in order to get there, then it's on us to keep their engagement before taking them to where we need to go.
And it is exponentially more difficult in some ways because when you come out with the first Halo, the first Borderlands, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, exactly like you say, people have no expectations.
That's right.
Nobody knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, so there was like, 2,700 fans that thought, they knew what they wanted it to be, but everybody else just was like, okay, it's a talking raccoon. They went and they saw it, and then they loved it. Well, from there, people fall in love with it, and their own imaginations start to come to play. And that's one of the fun things about creating the kind of stuff that we create, but at the same time, then people become proprietary. And so they believe that because they think that, whatever should happen in that story, that's what should happen. And then they become disappointed and upset when that isn't what happens. And that's always a thing.
Like super interesting is you'll get all this feedback. Oh, I hated that. I hated this. Why are you doing this? You suck. But but they still love being involved, right? And so
it's better to have that.
They wouldn't say those things if they didn't care about it.
Well, sometimes they do.
Right.
That's
Sometimes,
personal.
sometimes.
Well, that's just shitposting.
but that is passion. I mean, we had an interesting situation, which was sort of the reverse, which is obviously with Halo 1 and the design of Cortana and the AI. We gave the AIs a 7-year lifespan before they go rampant and they basically overthink themselves to death. Well, now 15 years later, Cortana is a super valuable part of our universe, and I think we played with that a little bit with Halo 5. We explored the rampancy in Halo 4, I think, successfully. In Halo 5, I think we were still sort of trying to figure out how do we keep her, but keep to the fact that she's going through these things, and I think we're still figuring those things out with her, right? But it's a little bit of a hole we painted for ourselves, just not thinking 15 years ahead, right? And now we have a main character we're trying to keep meaningful, but also true to what she is.
Yeah. I always use Guardians as an example like the Mummy just came out this weekend and it didn't do what they had hoped it would do. And so then they always do these ridiculous breakdowns like, oh, maybe it's Tom Cruise or maybe people don't like classic monsters. And I always go, fucking just make good movies. Like just look at Guardians. You know what I mean? Like Guardians, and I know it's a very simple thing to say, it's an oversimplification, but on paper, Guardians should not have made $1 billion according to their rules. Like, not everyone knew what it was. It was, untested, film stars, basically. And you essentially broke every rule that Hollywood follows, and it was one of the biggest movies of all time. And so I just feel like if you make good things that have good detail and good story,
that's the only rule that I can live by as a filmmaker is to make it good. That's all I can do. But that isn't always true because if you saw, Edge of Tomorrow, which was a good movie, one of Tom Cruise's amazing movie, and also didn't do very well.
Right.
Did very, very.
Because they didn't know how to market it because it was
Okay,
sci-fi Groundhog Day.
But I mean, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
You didn't know what it was.
You
It was
know?
just like, oh, it's another Tom Cruise in the not too distant future movie, and people just didn't really understand that the story mechanic was really compelling.
There's a lot of good movies that don't get seen, and then there's a lot of bad movies which are making over $1 billion like in a few weeks.
Right.
So it's a difficult thing.
Well, I want to have some time for audience questions.
Wait. But then, how are you defining bad movie?
Right?
No, excuse me. No.
Well, you got us.
Wait.
How am I? Well,
Because wait. Because you can't apply different rules to movies than you can to your games. You will define a successful game by a game that sells well.
True.
And you're happy and you'll boast of what you've infused in it to sell. So now you're getting on the case of movies that you all agree are bad but sell $1 billion.
Well, I don't think
wait a second, Neil. I never got on the case of. I never said anything about fight. I never said that. I believe that there are good movies and there are bad movies, and I mean they exist.
He is much bigger.
And if you want to go by just the very basic thing about what an audience feels about a movie after they see it, at least go by that. And there are movies which people are walking out of unhappily, and they don't like the movies, and yet they go to see the sequel because the promise of the next one is there. And the trailer works, and they're tricked again. Now, that may be stupid, but it happens. But at the very least, the movie is, for me, I believe a good movie or a bad movie is what I think it is, and what I enjoy, and what I think is well put together, and what isn't, But I think that other people don't enjoy movies, and they're tricked into going to see them. And there's other movies they do enjoy, and they don't see.
But there is something that's extra special about a good sticky thing, where it's like a movie or a game, or like Borderlands, or like Portal 2, or BioShock Infinite, or Halo, like whatever it is that sticks with you, and there's just like an extra bit of a quality to that world that you want to inhabit.
If only there was a formula. If only we could just.
If only there was a way to. But I
really
really want to get some audience questions so people here can get some of this stuff that
Can
they
I ask
want
the first
answered.
question?
Sure.
I want to know what video game or film passes the Neil deGrasse Tyson test.
Oh, I know what he's going to say. I know exactly what he's going to say. I know what you're going to say.
I thought The Matrix 1, of course, was brilliant in its self-consistency, except for that one little bit about humans having to serve as part of the energy source of the Matrix. That violated all known laws of thermodynamics. But other than that, I just thought they
Kinda like
thought
the foundation
that through
of the whole film.
brilliantly, beginning to end.
Excellent. So he liked The Matrix. I thought you were going to say
awesome.
The Martian. I know you like The Martian too. So let's ask. Yes, you sir. Do we
No,
have a
but The
roving-
Martian is not didn't go anywhere other than real physics.
That's true. Do we have a microphone for this gentleman up front here?
Mark Watley got home. He got home.
Hi. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Rhino, and I'm from Iraq.
Hello. Welcome. What is your question?
Thank you. My question is, there's one issue that the video game industry and the movie industry is suffering from these days. It's the lack of originality and the repetition of the same stories and concept and the fear of trying to go into new territories. So, for example, there are so many ancient civilizations that we don't get to explore in video games, even though they are very valid and they need representation, like Sumerian, for example. And there are so many games which repeat the same concept over and over and over in every game and resort to adding multiplayer in order to make the game engaging without presenting anything new. So how do you think we can solve these issues? And is it our fault as fans for buying these content? Or is it the fault of the directors not being efficient enough? Or there's budget issues or lack of research?
I've got an answer for you.
Thank you.
And I don't think it's ever the only. Honestly, I don't blame. I mean, you can't blame people for what they. The only thing that I blame people for bringing to power is the Kardashians. Other than that, everything else, like you can like.
There's another. There's somebody else. There's somebody else. I blame the people for bringing to power.
There's one other. I can't think of. I don't know. Maybe.
I have an answer for you. It's the same reason why I became a.
So you almost jumped out of your thing. There's one other guy. I'm sorry, Randy.
No, it's okay. It's the same reason why I became a creator. If there's something you think deserves to exist in the world, you can't count on other people trying to make that exist. Everyone's trying. All creators are going to create whatever they want to create, whatever they think their art should be, and that's foundational to any artist. So if you think there should be something that needs to exist, you should become an artist. You should create
that's
it yourself.
a great piece of advice. Because that's where you feel like there's a gap there. You feel like there's a hole there that's not being serviced. And if you're passionate about it, it's very likely that there are, X number of other people who are also passionate about that. So if there's any way that you can figure out how to manifest that in some way, I feel like that you have a responsibility to do that if you feel like it should be in the world. I think that's a great place to start. Why isn't this? Oh, well, maybe I wonder if I could make that thing. So if that informs you in any way or helps, then maybe we will see you here next year, hopefully up on the stage. Do we have any other? Yes, you. Whoever. Yeah, that guy right there on the end.
My name's Zach. I don't know if you guys were subconsciously talking about DC when you said keep getting tricked and over seeing their movies. But, Mr. Gunna, I have a question for you.
I was talking about something else. Think about it for a second.
All right, well, I know the Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy game, the first episode came out really recently. I was wondering if you had experienced that at all, and if that has had any influence on you writing Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I have not played the Telltale Guardian. The only interaction I had with the folks that made that game were that they came to me and said, these are the songs we're going to use. Are these songs that you're planning to use? And are they okay for you to put it within the Guardians universe? And I said, yes.
Yeah, those
so
are
that
definitely
was it.
Great choices. I actually loved the soundtrack to the game. I listened to that almost as much as the Volume 2 soundtrack, which was fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Where's the microphone? How about, this guy right here in the third row. Yeah, yes, you, sir. You, sir.
So I feel like there are very few things more important in life than storytelling. I think that's super important as far as history, telling history, so we don't repeat the same mistakes. Having such an ensemble of great creators on stage here, I would love to hear where you guys like to see storytelling go in the next few years. Where would you love to see it evolve to?
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially with VR, because I feel like you as a director, or any of you as directors of a story, essentially tell people like, look at this, go here, do this thing. But when VR, where you're putting that power in someone's control, how do you tell a story? How do you tell a story when there isn't really a linear story to tell? When someone can just wander around essentially. So where do you see that going?
That hunch is kind of why I feel like in video games we actually haven't cracked the nut yet. I mean, on one level, interactive entertainment is this incredible new medium that our species has devised, and it's the first medium where the audience can actually manipulate the situation. It's the first entertainment medium that we've created that can do this, but at the end of the day, we're still learning a lot of our lessons in storytelling from, like you. We're learning from linear media, and we haven't truly explored what the gift interactive is for us in storytelling. And I still think someday we're going to get our Citizen Kane moment, where this changes things for us. And we haven't yet seen it in interactive entertainment. And when we do, I think it'll be the most obvious thing in the world in hindsight. But the fact that we haven't seen it yet means we're still struggling to find it. And I wish I could be one of the guys to find it, but
there's a mismatch.
I'm hunting.
What do you mean?
I'm hunting.
Yeah, maybe there's a mismatch there because, right, in a VR environment or any kind of game that creates an environment, there is no story other than the story sort of you make, your adventure. And that's different from linear storytelling that would go on in a novel.
Correct.
And to be concerned that it is not that but should be, maybe is not where your energy should go. It should be setting up the circumstances where that becomes what is the experience. So, for example, a playground is not a linear place. The kids go run and they just go every which way and they're having a good time. And take a look at the TV show Seinfeld. There's no story there. It's just you set it up and then stuff happens.
What are you talking about?
And the entertainment.
Well, I'm getting the wrap it up sign because I know there's other programming here today, and there's still a lot of E3 to be had. So I would talk about this for 3 more hours. But as we're sort of winding this down, do you have like one bit of advice for developers out there or storytellers? And we'll sort of go around the 4 of you, and I'll start with you, Kiki. Just one really solid bit of advice that you kind of follow, or a mantra, or something you always remind yourself, or something that you live by as you're constructing these worlds and telling the stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think we look at it as a craft, right? And it's about giving a player a sense of place and an emotion, and what do you want them to come out of the experience feeling, and how do you craft every visual detail and everything you see and hear and what that player is doing so that they can leave that world just wanting to come back to it. And so we take every little piece of that moment to moment really seriously, and how do we create the space for people to play in and ultimately to feel.
Excellent. Randy?
My thing is that life is worth living because we can experience joy and happiness. If we couldn't experience that, there would be no value to us. But because we can experience joy and happiness, and we figured this out, where we can commoditize it, we can experience entertainment. If you're a creator, that's the most noble thing in the world. If you're a consumer, there's not only no shame, embrace it. It's what gives us, the joy and happiness we experience from consuming entertainment is what makes us human. It gives us our life's value. So I'm so stoked that there's so much love here in this room and at E3 and for all media. So yeah, keep at it.
Great, James.
Oh, sum it up. I don't know. It's, I feel like I should answer this guy's question here because I am in a different world than these guys. And I think that now is, and this is outside of the context of gaming, but now is an incredibly important time in filmmaking. And how do people move forward, I think, is by taking risks and being honest and being compassionate. I feel like the middle echelon film, the films that cost $30 to $50 million are almost dead. The only movies that drive cinema these days are spectacle films. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that's just the way it is. And that's the province I live in. But to make cinema exist, it's got to continue to take the chances that filmmakers took in the 1970s with movies like The Godfather and Rosemary's Baby, and these movies that were artistic and heartfelt and true.
Or Get Out,
and honest,
like Jordan Peele's
or Get
movie.
Out.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
be able to do that also within the system of the high budget spectacle film, because that's what brings people into a theater. And without bringing some creativity and honesty and difference to that, it's going to die. It really will die. And most of the movies that come out there are cookie cutter, and they are the same. And that'll make a little money this year, a little less money next year, a little less money after that. So to truly, to let movies survive, it really is on the part of the directors and the writers and the actors.
And then finally, Neil deGrasse Tyson, any parting words?
Yeah, just quickly, in Space Odyssey, we want to first go to Proxima B, which is the nearest exoplanet to our solar system, but there are thousands more that are currently in the catalogs. And I fantasize that we will find one such planet, or you invent one in this game, that has the right orbital parameters that give you the climactic cycling that, for example, you find in Game of Thrones.
Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you all right? Do you smell burnt toast? Are you okay?
So it might be that all these worlds that everyone is creating in all these various universes have counterparts in the real universe, such as some of you know that I found a star that represents Krypton for Superman. Some of you know that. It's an actual red star in the southern hemisphere. You can take some of our culture that we've worked so hard to build and extrapolate it out into the diversity that is our universe. And there's no limit of stories to be told or heard or explored there.
Excellent. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank this stage, E3. I want to thank Kiki and Randy and James and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Enjoy E3. It's an amazing time to be making stuff and consuming stuff. There's so much for everyone. And make the thing that you don't see out there. Make it. I'm Chris Hardwick. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Bye-bye. That was awesome.
Great. Up. Bell. What's up?
Sure.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
We went a little long, but
I was going to see you
Going
first.
that way?
How did it all start? Where is it going? These are questions that restless thinkers have tackled over the millennia. Kepler and Galileo, Copernicus, Isaac Newton.
We choose to go to the moon.
This continuing journey, there's no reason why it has to stop. Allow me to introduce to you all the next generation of exploration that we call the Space Odyssey.
All right, E3 Coliseum continues. We're moving right on now to Assassin's Creed. So let's bring up the guys from the Assassins team. Come on out, guys.
Hello.
Ezra, good to see
Hey,
you.
buddy.
Carl, good to see you. How's everything? Come on in. Grab my iPad for your questions. In this session, we're going to talk about the newly announced Assassin's Creed Origins. First of all, congratulations on the announcement. Game Informer cover. Microsoft press conference, Ubisoft press conference. Lots of news out there about it. So for people that may just be catching up on the news, we're going to show you some amazing gameplay, lots of gameplay, so stick around from the game. But catch us up. You guys took a year off for Assassin's Creed last year, back this year, new setting. Tell us about the decision to go to Egypt for this one.
Yeah, so right after Black Flag 3.5 years ago, we started working on this project, so it's been a long road for us. The intention back then was really... Oh, the mic? Okay. The intention, so we started 3.5 years ago, right after Black Flag. And we had this urge, this need to somehow create something very authentic AC, but completely reinventing the experience. And when we talk about reinventing experience, we're talking about the narrative structure, the gameplay, the world, but yet wanting to do something that was important to the series. And this is where we started talking about things like, can we tell the origins of the Brotherhood that we knew from AC1? We've had the conflict between Templars and Assassins, or I should say free will and order, for a very long time, since Adam and Eve. But to show how the Brotherhood came to be from AC1, this was the story we wanted to tell. Now, how do you tell that important story in an important setting? And we naturally went into ancient Egypt, and it's been a dream project for many of us to do Egypt, to be able to have the tech to build this country. And so it was a very quick succession to say, we're doing ancient Egypt, it's going to be the birth of the Brotherhood, and let's reinvent Assassin's Creed.
And this is Montreal, Singapore, and lots of studios getting involved, and this is normal, right? Awesome. All right, well, you guys have 2 demos you guys are going to see. I know we've had lots of talking, lots of different types of things this morning. Now this is all about showing you guys a lot of gameplay. You guys into seeing some gameplay on Assassins? All right, so they got 2 demos we're going to see, and then we're going to take some questions in between each demo. I'm really going to hand this over to you guys. Why don't you tell us about this first extended piece of footage we're going to see, which is like 20 minutes, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'll move my mic. Yeah, so the first demo, it's so we have a playable here at E3. So we encourage people to come by and check it out, play it, feel it for themselves. It takes place in an area of the world called the Fayoum, which is a beautiful lake in the world. It takes place about halfway into the story, let's say, to the quest line, the main quest line. And we catch up with Bayek, who is our protagonist. He's a native of Siwa. He is effectively the embodiment of ancient Egypt. We wanted a character that, how can we physically represent ancient Egypt? Bayek is that guy. Yeah. And we catch up with him at level 20. So he's outfitted with that kind of gear. And then we kick off the adventure for the demo from here.
Awesome. All
yeah.
right, well, let's take a look.
Let's start.
You guys are going to guide us through it, what we're seeing, right?
Perfect, yep. So here we are. So we're in the Fayoum. As you can see, we have a quest up there that says the crocodile. That's the name of the quest. So the adventure we're going on effectively is that Bayek is unraveling a mystery. Something has happened in his hometown that has pushed him out into the world of Egypt. He is discovering the world of Egypt as much as the player is, to an extent. He knows about it, but he's never really been that far from his home. And something has happened that has pushed him out. And here, all he really has is this information that he's looking for someone called the crocodile in this part of the world. That's kind of the hidden name of this person. Here, we're just introducing the idea. We have a military camp here. The military camps, you go to them for many different reasons. Obviously, quests take you here, but it's also a great place to find gear and equipment. It's a military location. Here, what we're seeing is our companion Senu. Senu, she's Bayek's eagle, and you use her to scout the world, to find opportunities, to tag dangers, so enemies.
So here we've done a little bit of tagging. The reason we're going here, it's really just to get a little taste of what it is to infiltrate an area, to find some gear, do a little bit of stealth. There we can see the bow usage. So bows are very important in this time period.
They will attack on sight here.
Here we're gonna go in and kind of try to be sneaky about it. We've worked very hard on the combat element, the stealth element. Combat has been built from ground up. We wanted to go with a different paradigm. We wanted to go with something that was deeper in terms of the behavior of the characters, in terms of the player understanding how does my weapon work, the speed of the weapon, the distance of the weapon, how many enemies am I fighting. So here we're showing that combat is dangerous. So that guy running away, he's going to light a brazier to call in for reinforcements. So there we go, creating some chaos. I'll let this play out. So what you see there, this is a very fundamental change in the combat system. In previous ACs, you could never swing your weapon and hit air. It was a paired animation system, if I'm getting very technical. What we have here is a hitbox-based system, which effectively means you swing your weapon. If something's there, it gets hit. If it's not, well, you just swung at air and you exposed yourself. All of a sudden, that means the length of a spear, the speed of the weapon, the number of enemies all matter. Enemies will not be kind to you. They will attack more than one at the same time. So we give a lot of defensive options as well. So there's a dodge, you can defend with your shield. There's also a parry. Here we wanted the idea that flowing between range combat and melee combat was also very fast, very seamless. Depending on the playstyle you prefer. You know, if you are someone that likes using the bow inside combat, we try to support it as much as possible. What we've seen with our players in AC is that we have really two types of players, the people who are warriors and the people who prefer to be stealth. And what we tried to do is cater to the different play styles and to say, if you want to go in one direction, it's totally valid. One is not better than the other. If you want to be a ranger with a bow, if you want to be that stealthy assassin, or if you want to be a warrior, there's ways in the progression system to dedicate yourself to that style of play. So this guy's a commander in this camp. So he's a little bit more difficult. As you can see, we wanted players to care about understanding what equipment does this enemy have. Having a shield, having a shield like that, it means that certain attacks will be blocked. So you will have to dodge, you'll have to jump around. You maybe want them to commit to an action before attacking them. This is a military location, so it's a great place to find loot and to find gear to outfit Bayek. There we go. So here, leveling up is very important. XP is very important. So in this case, we've leveled up to 21. We've received an ability point. Here's the gear. So this is the ability graph. The reason. Thank you. So on the one side, the seer aspect of the graph, it's really about manipulating your enemies, animals to get the job done. The center is about being a warrior. And on the left side, we have the hunter path, which is really about either being an archer or being that stealthy assassin. You can dedicate yourself in any direction. The reason it's a graph is we wanted for players to be able to form their own path. Maybe you want to be a mix between 2 styles or 3 styles. The thing is, every tree, every part of the graph, I should say, has an end node that you can keep pumping points into. If you want to focus on being the ultimate warrior, you can do that, or you can spread yourself out. It's really up to you. Here, we can see gear really matters. The level of the gear, the types of gear. You can see they have stats, they have attributes, they have properties, and they have rarity. So the more rare weapons, the legendary weapons, they have more attributes, more properties. So fighting with a Kopesh sword that does bleeding damage is drastically different than a spear that is poison tipped. And this stuff really matters when you start getting deeper and deeper into the combat of the game. You wanna jump in, Carl?
Hey guys, so I'm going to stand up because it's easier to see the screen if I stand over here. So yeah, I'm Carl. I'm a producer at Ubisoft Singapore, and in Singapore we've really worked on the areas around the water. So the water tech, the ability to go underwater, and any vehicles on the water. So here we see Bayek on a felucca. He's currently identifying where his next objective is, and as it is a locate objective, we've actually worked on that being something that you intrinsically need to use Sinu for. Sinu, your eagle. So here we see the new locate mechanic, and somewhere on this lake is Hotefres that we're looking for. That was very quickly found, but he's on that ship. So in playtest it usually takes players a lot longer, but he identified that quickly. And what's interesting about this new locate mechanic is that often the next step of a quest is moving in the world. So you might not know exactly where it is, and us as game developers don't know where the player is going to discover that next part of the quest. So that really makes the world much more open, much more different, and everyone has a unique experience. Yeah, so here Bayek is sailing a military felucca, and he sailed past one of the islands there, which actually has a hippo den on it, but that's we haven't gone into that just here. He's very focused on the quest, so we'll see if Hotefres is on this ship. Well, there, the flash on the screen indicates there's some threat nearby, so that's probably either a crocodile or a hippo. Oh, but they're hidden away. So we have two types of ships that go around the world. There's the Kirkross, this one, which is more of a merchant ship, and then there's the trireme. I'll leave the cutscene for you guys to enjoy.
So, now they send the son of Egypt against me. It has been a long time since I spilled so much blood.
I was sent by Polydorus. We share a common interest.
Who are you? And what do you want, eh?
I'm Bayek of Siwa, and I seek information on the crocodile.
The phantom that has brought Fium to its knees. What could you want with him?
He belongs to a group that is destroying Egypt. I intend to hunt every last one of them down.
Then you are looking for the same thing these soldiers were.
And what would that be?
I stole a ledger from a Greek magistrate I suspect of corruption. It should reveal the identity of this crocodile. And if we get it to Apollodorus, we may be able to bring down the whole organization.
Where's the ledger now?
I gave it to my wife Henut to hide. As long as the Ptolemies think it's with me, my family is safe. That is why I have to stay on the move. Here. This will tell Henut you are a friend to be trusted. It is for my daughter, Shadia. Once you have the ledger, find me at the docks south of Euhemeria. Bayek, take a look around my ship before you go. I keep records of local problems which may have the crocodile at their root.
So here it's really, we're showing that there is a deep quest structure in the game. So this is one of the main quests where we just met with one of our informants who's giving us a little bit of a hint about how we can find the crocodile, this person known as the crocodile.
Who is this shrine dedicated?
This is a side quest that we happen to pick up here.
People killed by fires in Dionysia.
So what players can expect is that there is a ton of side quests, put a lot of effort into telling these really beautiful, deep stories of Egypt. We did a lot of research on ancient Egypt, and we found hundreds of really amazing characters and stories that we wanted to bring to life and to propose to our players and have them experience this, but also kind of wrapping it in why is Bayek helping these people, and what does it mean when it eventually leads to the birth of the Brotherhood. That was a very poorly timed jump. Luckily, Bayek is a proficient swimmer. There we go. Yes, yes. So as you can see, the world is very seamless. We wanted to make sure that you're constantly immersed in the world. So by the way, the fauna of Egypt. We wanted to do it justice and represent it well, but also make it truly living in the world. You can see the blood of the other croc back there. It will actually attract other predators to the area. Eventually, I've had situations in this context where the felucca, which is this type of boat, it'll start sinking. You'll go in the water, it'll sink all the way down. You can actually swim with it. At some point, it was actually pushing me down while I was trying to fight a hippo. It was super cool. The world, we tried to make it as immersive as possible, really selling the fantasy of being inside ancient Egypt. All this water is fully explorable, and there is stuff to find underneath the waters, hidden sunken tombs, sunken temples, sunken ships, with opportunities there for the player. Here, you can see I think we have some of the most beautiful water in games. Kudos to Ubisoft Singapore, Carl, for this beautiful water.
Good water guy.
Yes, good water. Thank you, Jeff. Really, this area that we're in, the Fayum, the story, the narrative of this area is that there's a major land dispute. And so this was historically what happened in this place. When the Greeks came to live at this part of Egypt, there was a huge dispute between the Egyptians and the Greeks. But here we're not here, Bayek is not here to settle that dispute. But naturally, because we're in this area, he will get caught up into that conflict, and that's part of the aspect of learning about Egypt. We use the quest structure not only to have awesome gameplay and to meet really great characters, but also to, we wanted to do ancient Egypt justice and to show how amazing and beautiful this land was, to show its beliefs and its rituals and so on. So here, as you can see, we don't have a mini map anymore. We're trying to have people more looking at the world itself. We're super proud of our artists, our engineers that are able to bring such a beautiful, vast world to life.
Hold there!
Here you can see the draw distance are incredible. It's
we need to clean this place
I'm super
up and
proud
get
of the
it
team
running
for this.
again. Don't worry.
So I'll let this
I won't
little
let them
cinematic
close
play.
down this kitchen.
Henut?
Yes.
Hotefres sent me. I am here to help. And I have your daughter's doll.
Great. I was awaiting word from my man. Thank you. Come, eat and we can talk.
Oh, I love my new doll, Bayek. I will name her Iset, and she will be the protector of all Fayum.
Ever since Hotefres got a hold of that ledger, Fayum has been on edge. Soldiers with torches patrol every night, and this alms kitchen was practically razed to the ground. They have left Shadia and me alone at least. Hotefres has made sure of that.
Where is the ledger now?
I instructed our most loyal servant to hide it in our villa. They can search the place as many times as they want. They will never find it.
Can you take me there?
I have been summoned to the lighthouse for another of their routine investigations.
That may not be safe. The Ptolemaic authorities seem to be working with the crocodile.
It happens every few days. Don't worry. They wouldn't dare touch someone in an official position. Shadia, show Bayek the way to our home.
Come on, Uncle Bayek.
So the beginning of the game's
You can see
story
my
starts
house
all the
from
way
that
back in
roof.
49 BC. So for us on Assassin's Creed, that's obviously way further back than we've ever been. So an interesting challenge we've had is we don't have blueprints or a lot of historical evidence of what life really was like then, the architecture, the villages. So it's been really interesting having a historian on the team to try and imagine what it was like, to try and look at satellite data of Egypt in current day and imagine what it was like a few thousand years ago. And so the artists on our team have really had to be more imaginative and creative than ever before because we don't have those blueprints.
I come up here a lot. Everything looks so beautiful. The people should be happy, but they are not.
Don't worry. Your mother and father will look after them. Where is your house?
On the hill there. See it?
Yes. And soldiers. Thank you, Shadia. You should go back to your mother now. It might get dangerous.
Nothing bad will ever happen to me. Iset can fight, you know. She will protect me. La la la, la la la.
So here,
Bye,
we're going
Shadia.
to show off a little bit more,
You and
more
Iset
stealth.
enjoy your life.
We're going to show a lot of combat, and later on we're going to show a little demo for the Gladiator Arena. But here again, so this is Senu once again. So Senu is also helping us find our objectives, as we did with the ship earlier. Here we're tagging enemies. You can see these enemies are level 20, which generally means that they're about the equivalent challenge for Bayek at this point. It makes sense. So of course, everything that Senu can do in terms of scouting, Bay can do himself. It just, obviously, a bird's eye view is way more efficient. Senu is able to fly through the world quite fast. You can actually fly across the whole world. There's no limit between Bayek and Senu. You can fly across the whole world. It's beautiful, and instantly come back to Bayek. That's something that we're super proud that we've been able to engineer. So this situation is actually Hotefris's home. So this is his place. It's been taken over, commandeered by guards because they're looking for this ledger. And this ledger is going to give us more information on who is this crocodile person. So we've worked on a lot. You'll hear a lot about combat, but we've worked a lot on stealth. By the way, it's incredible the amount of stuff Bayek can do carrying a body. Very strong thighs, very strong thighs. So there's a lot of abilities linked to the stealth path if that's the approach that you want to take. But again, we fully assume that if you wanted to go through this fighting or using your bow, it's totally fine, it's totally valid. There's a lot of abilities linked to manipulating AI, to messing with them, even animals.
Who's that?
So we can see there's some guys inside the house.
Stop! Ha!
There's a guy up there. Oh, he wants to run away. So loot, as you can see, loot is actually very important in the game. We have a massive loot system.
Where is it?
Finding gear
They
with
said
different
it would
levels,
be
with
here.
different rarities and stats and attributes, especially off of soldiers, is one way to actually get through the game and improve Bayek's loadout. For those of you who know the lore of AC, you might ask, where did this hidden blade come from? So just for the fans of the lore, we obviously know our lore, and it's in the story. You'll get it. It's cool. It's a nice homage to the series. Okay. Oh yeah, it ends there. Okay.
That's the first clip.
Yeah. Thank you.
Back down. I get some time for some questions. There's another demo we're going to see in a second. It looks great, and I love seeing so much raw gameplay here, which is what a lot of people want to see at E3. So we got some questions from the global gaming community on Facebook that we're going to get to, and if you guys have questions, we'll get to you in a second. But let me ask a question from Facebook. First of all, this one comes from Tina Kova, and she wants to know, are there any playable female protagonists in the game?
So this is primarily Bayek's story. We do have other playable characters that are played in select quests, but that's as far as we're going with today.
Okay.
We don't want to. There's some surprises in there. We don't want to ruin them. Yep. There are other playable characters in the story, but it is primarily Bayek's story.
Right. All right. Next one comes from Chris Smith. He wants to know, what can you tell us about present-day Abstergo? How will it feature in the game?
So, again, we're not talking about present day or that kind of stuff just yet. At this moment right now, we wanted to focus on announcing the game, introducing the high-level concepts of the game, because it is a drastically different AC. And I can say that and we can show videos, but this is why we have a playable demo. We want people to come and actually feel that the experience is really drastically different. There's a ton of stuff in this game. We know our lore very well. We listen to our fans. We pay attention to the feedback, to the forums. As harsh sometimes as they can be, that's okay. We love the feedback. We're here to make the best game we can possibly make for our fans and for ourselves. We take a lot of pride in what we do. But also wanting to pay homage to our fans who have been with us and who invest their time and money into our experiences. So we do listen. Having said that, more stuff will come as this campaign goes on. For now, we're really focused on Bike's experience, the birth of the Brotherhood, and ancient Egypt.
All right, one more question here, and then we're going to go to someone in the audience. Think of your questions. Gil Martins, I'm not sure if you can answer this, but will the game include online multiplayer, in parentheses, the Brotherhood kind of multiplayer?
So we do have, Assassin's Creed Origins is primarily a single-player experience. And we do have online features that are there to enhance that experience for sure. Again, later in the campaign, we'll get into more details about those online features, but it's a primarily single-player experience.
So not a full kind of separate multiplayer mode or anything?
No, we wanted to put all our effort and really nail this reinvention of Assassin's Creed. We wanted to make sure we got it right. In terms of scope, the game is absolutely massive. I don't think anybody will complain at all that it's that the scope is not massive. We're super proud of what we have, and yeah, I think people will play it soon and send us some feedback, I'm sure.
Looks cool. All right. Tons more Facebook questions coming in, but I want to get to some folks in the audience with questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll bring a mic to you. Let's go to the guy in yellow back there.
You go ahead and stand up.
Hi, I'm Justin.
Hello.
You were showing the demonstration where you can upgrade your weapons throughout the gameplay. Will weapons be destructible in this game? I mean, will they break? Will you have to fix them by picking up equipment to fix them?
Yeah, so questions about destructibility of equipment or weapons. So we don't have durability or that concept. Instead, what we wanted to focus on is finding new loot and upgrading that way. So new levels. There's many different types of weapons, and each type of weapon, so there's 8 categories of melee weapons, 4 categories of ranged weapons. They have a drastically different playstyle, each one. And what we wanted players to do is that every time you find a new type of weapon, to start understanding how it works, to start understanding the combos that you can do with them, and actually to find the playstyle you prefer. And then it's all about levels, attributes, properties. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to be learning what is it like to fight with a spear versus dual swords, which are super fast, but you have to get in close. Once you start understanding this, eventually you start getting more rare weapons, and at that point, you're going to start seeing, okay, a poison-tipped spear is even more different, or a weapon that does bleeding damage, or a weapon that you can light on fire. These are the elements that, as the game progresses, we wanted players to always be proposed new depth, new layers of thinking. We had played around with the idea of durability, but it wasn't comfortable for us. We didn't like it that much. So that was a design decision we had made.
All right, one more question, then we're going to get to the second demo, get more questions. You asked one already. We don't have mics upstairs, unfortunately, guys. If you can shout it out, maybe. Go for it. Okay. All right, so the question for those of you on the stream, sorry you couldn't hear it, but I thought it was important to get someone in the balcony up there because there are lots of you guys up there too. Historical, yeah, thanks for sticking it out, guys. It's going to be a fun day. Historical accuracy, you heard it, in terms of, characters, Alexander the Great. I think some people wonder the pyramids, how will they factor into it? What can we expect?
Yeah, so precisely speaking, this is 49 BCE. which is the time of Cleopatra's ascension to the throne. So this is the context we're in. Ancient Egypt is huge in terms of its span of history. At this point, there's 3,000 years of history. When we were debating at what point of history do we go into, we looked at different parts. We even looked at the time period where the pyramids were being built. The issue there was that there really wasn't much else there. We wanted an ancient Egypt that was already filled with mystery, with things to uncover, things to discover. Bayek is exploring the world as much as the player is. And so we wanted this land to be absolutely rich with content. So that's why we chose 49 BCE, which is at the height, it's centuries of accomplishments and grandeur in Egypt, but it's also the beginning of its demise. It's, the line of pharaohs is about to end. The gods are about to die. The way of life for Egyptians is going to forever change. And Bayek being this embodiment of ancient Egypt, he is the physical representation of ancient Egypt. What does he have to do? What does he have to become to be able to exist in this new world that's coming? And this is how it leads into the birth of the Brotherhood, and it's the journey that we propose to our players. So of course we know the history we've chosen. We play with that a lot. For sure, you meet amazing, bigger-than-life historic characters going through really epic historic events. As I said, this is the moment where Cleopatra is about to ascend her throne. I think that's enough about the context. I don't want to give too much away to spoil that, but for sure we know this history and we play with it.
Cool. All right. Well,
I hope that answered that question. Think so? Maybe? Thumbs up?
We can see. Thumbs up. All right. You have another demo we want to get to. So let's. You guys want to introduce what we're going to see here? Arena stuff, right?
Yeah. So another demo that we have here at E3 is the Gladiator Arena. And what we're going to see is a few minutes of the structure of it. So you fight a few round waves of enemies, and then you're introduced to the boss. So one of the big things we wanted to push in Assassin's Creed Origins are boss fights and challenges. Yeah, for sure. Cool. And the combat system allows us to do this, and we have epic boss fights. We have many of them, a lot of them even optional. So if you want those, that extreme challenge of combat, it's there. So we'll get a taste of that right now.
Yeah, let's take a look at the arena. Here we go.
So just for the context of the situation, you originally get introduced to the Gladiator Arena through the main quest line. So Bayek, he's trying to lure out a specific target. And so he covers himself going into the Gladiator Arena to pretend to be a gladiator to be able to lure this person out. That's how you get into it. Once you've gotten into it, it becomes optional. And we have a ton of bosses and a ton of rounds. There's a lot of cool gear to get to win through the Gladiator Arena. But again, it's the player's choice. If you want to keep going down this rabbit hole, you can. And if not, that's okay too. You're going to miss out on amazing bosses. That's your choice. Here, we're seeing a new weapon, which is what we call a heavy bladed, so like a giant axe. You can see some of the combos here. Fighting an enemy with a shield is very different than an enemy with a sword or a spear. Here we finished the first wave, a new wave is coming, so we can see the shields are bigger. There are different types of shields. There's guys with hammers. Here you can see at the bottom of the screen we've built up this adrenaline meter. So this is kind of a meta strategy in the fight system where you can build up this meter to unleash massive attacks, or what we call Fury mode. Each weapon has its own style of devastating attacks or Fury mode. And eventually what we want players to do is to, here we go, this is it. Yes, yes.
Round of applause for the team.
There we go. See, very poorly timed swings. The person who played this, I don't know, we're gonna talk to him after this. He's standing just off stage. So here we can see two massive dudes. Yeah. This part is hard. Even for me, it's very hard. But you can see, so, a little detail. You saw him get knocked to the ground. things like status effects, like knock to the ground, stun, breaking open their shields. All of this are properties of weapons, properties of combos and attacks that we want people to learn that depth and master it. And every weapon has its own style. So here we're able to knock him down, which allows us to start unloading. But he still has his shield up. So here we want to play with things like having the guy be committed to a move before going to his back and doing a critical hit. So there we go, so the waves are done. Now it's onto the boss of this area. So we'll let the introduction play. But again, just to repeat, we are introduced to this through the main quest line, and then after this point it becomes an optional piece of content. As now Bayek has the right to enter an arena, it's up to the player to continue or not. So we go with the slaver. So as you'll see, every boss has their own unique set of combos, unique weapons. Keep in mind, this is, I'll say it, I'm super proud with what we have, and I'm really happy that we're able to show it off. It is still a work in progress. We still have, we're still working on this thing. We're tuning and balancing, working out the wrinkles. But we're super proud to be able to show it off and have people play it here at E3.
This is playable over at E3?
This is playable here at
wow.
E3, yes. Okay. You have to watch out for those spikes, so the environment matters. You can use the environment against the enemy if you're clever, if you know how to use your weapon, if you know how to use push attacks, this kind of stuff. We really wanted to craft, it's a dance between these two. So now he's getting pissed. So as he goes through the fight, he gains new attacks. His strategy will adapt to yours. He's going to get tougher and tougher. As you can see, he's actually getting faster with his attacks, getting more aggressive. And I'll say this is one of the simplest bosses we have in the game. We have some super cool, unique bosses. We put a lot of effort into this.
Almost halfway there.
So that's something important that you can do. You can kind of prepare an attack, feint an attack, be able to dodge last second. Hitting an enemy in the back will actually do bonus damage. Hitting an enemy on the ground or getting them on the ground will also do bonus damage. There's quite a lot of depth. It's a very different fight system than we've ever done. And that's why we have this here at E3. It's because, we can say it till we're blue in the face. We can show awesome videos, but it's not the same if you don't feel it. And that's why we have this here. We want players to feel it and to realize, okay, yeah, it is drastically different. It is something new and hopefully something quite cool.
It's pretty intense here. Is he gonna make it?
I don't know. We'll have to talk to him afterwards to see how he feels about this.
Oh.
Wow, what
he took like
finish.
2.5 bars of damage in like 2 shots. Wow.
What a finish.
All right. Very impressive. No mercy.
No mercy.
That's how this crowd.
Boo. Man, this crowd is vicious. Wow.
We want blood.
Actually,
all right, you did it.
So here.
Very cool.
Thank you.
All right, well, we have a couple minutes just for a few more questions. Jump into Facebook, and of course, if you guys are watching online, you can ask your questions on Facebook of any of the panels over the next couple days. Let's see. Here's a question from Stacy Bork. She wants to know, do you get to choose which weapon you want to take into the arena battles, or are you restricted to only specific types?
So for the Gladiator arenas, we wanted it to be actually a showcase of the weapons, and we've actually crafted that experience to really be highlighted when using certain weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So for the arenas, you do have a loadout that you go out with. But in the world, obviously in the world, it's a different story. In the quest line, it's a different story. You actually have, obviously, whatever you have loaded on.
Yeah.
So we play with both, actually, trying to highlight equipment if you've never seen it before, because there's a ton of it. So that's in the arenas. But the bosses in the world, the bosses in the quest lines, obviously it's the gear you have on.
Yeah.
We have bosses in the open world, so you'll come across them in certain forts and
Oh, wow.
and military
Okay.
locations. So that will be obviously you'll have a unique loadout, whatever you choose there.
Open world boss
Yep.
can go for probably quite a bit of area, right? Is it chasing each other?
Yeah,
Any contained
actually,
areas, or is it sort of more open?
We have both. We have
Wow,
bosses
cool.
that are in forts, or just optional world. We have bosses that are roaming the world who are hunting for Bayek. So I don't want to ruin the surprise of that.
All
but,
right.
yeah, we have both. We have
Cool.
guys who are on vehicles. Vehicles are really important to the combat system as well.
Yeah. All right, cool. Time for one more question from the audience. Someone hasn't asked a question yet. Any questions for the Assassin's Creed team? Yes, all right over here. Sorry. You got this side. Start with you in the glasses right there. Probably get you a mic. Yeah.
Excuse me, guys.
Thank you. I was wondering, do you learn new combos with each weapon, or do you have all the moves from the start when you get the weapon type?
No, each weapon type has its own combo set, and it's actually quite deep. You also unlock, if you go through the ability graph, you can unlock deeper and deeper combos. So actually, that devastating attack you saw with the axe, you can unlock actually a combo that launches from that attack.
Oh, nice.
You can actually have combos that launch from picking up somebody else's weapon and throwing it at someone else. There's a huge depth to the combat system.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Very cool. All right, well, thank you so much, guys, for bringing so much
thank you.
gameplay to the
Thank you.
E3 Coliseum. Lots of great
Thank you for
stuff. And
having
we
us.
have an incredible afternoon ahead for you guys. We've got Wolfenstein 2 will be up here. Matt Pat will be here shortly to talk about the world of online streaming. And then we've got Dissidia. We've got Spider-Man for PS4. And, of course, we got Jack Black and Tim Schafer a little bit later. So lots of great stuff happening. Stay in your seats. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with Matt Pat. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
everybody. Thanks,
Bye.
Jeff.
Thank you. Really good. Crazy couple days. More now, right? Done, right? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.